Hey there, welcome to episode number 32. 32, right?
Yeah.
32. 32 of Killer POV. I'm one of your co-hosts, Rob G. from FEARnet and Icons of Fright. Joining me as always, Elric Kane from Inside Horror.
I'm still here.
You're still here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you did a really, really great Inside Horror, well, live one this week with all the Halloween people.
I don't know if it worked.
It did.
Really?
I kept hearing, I can't. I went to the link and it's broken. And I think YouTube doesn't like. I went to YouTube and it said the show is too long. It was removed. I have a tendency to be long-winded.
Yes, as we'll find out.
But I will talk about the Blu-ray transfer and all that
all right.
later.
Good to know. And also Rebekah McKendry from Fangoria.
Greetings, gents.
Hello. And we have some very special guests today. Coming back for the third time.
He's like a co-host now.
Yeah, he's practically co-host.
Family.
He's got his eye on my seat. That's what I think.
I assure you I do not.
He's been on the show as much as Brian Collins.
Well, I've got my eye on yours.
Right, probably.
Like every fan.
From Scream Factory, the director of marketing there, Jeff Nelson. Welcome.
Hey guys, good to be back.
Always
Love
fun
it.
to have you.
You guys are great.
And also, we've finally we tried to get this guy on the first Scream Factory episode, and we finally got him in today. The head of acquisitions at Scream Factory, Shout Factory, and the producer of the DVD features there, Cliff MacMillan. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
All right.
Yay.
So here we go. We're doing an all Scream Factory episode, which should be exciting.
We're honored.
And you guys have kicked off some pretty crazy stuff this month. 31 Days of Terror?
Screams.
Screams.
I should have known
We've got
that.
a lot of 31 days of something going on.
Getting them all
To be
confused.
fair, we know that there's lots of horror outlets out there that have 31 days of something.
So you
yes,
guys
it's
are
easy
doing
to
like U.S. Scream.
Yeah.
It's a lot of 31 days.
Last week was United States of Horror, so
Yeah.
this one's 31 Days
And
of Screams.
Elric's going to one tonight, right?
I am. We were just talking about off camera. This is the one
Off camera?
Whatever
know.
this is.
off mic.
Off mic. It's one that I'd mentioned a couple times on the show, including last week, which is White of the Eye by Donald Cammell, which I've never seen a good version of. And I was really surprised because I really, as one of those films that when you watch it, you feel like you're the only person who's ever seen that film. So I was reading in Entertainment Weekly, something really mainstream, and it was when Your Next came out, and Adam Wingard was mentioning how that was the film that he most was influenced by for that film. And I was like, oh my God, weird. So I just had to, I don't even know him, and I had to tweet just to say, hey, just so you know, Cinefamily tonight, be there.
Cool.
Because we won't see this ever again. I don't
And
think
it's
we'll
on
see a
35
print.
millimeter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is owned by Phil, who was one of our guests.
Oh,
he
yeah,
owns this
it's his print, huh?
It's his print.
wow.
Yeah. So you
Cool.
could see it again,
That's very
but
cool.
I don't think this is a film that, I mean, it will probably get a release here pretty soon because I know, and I might be talking to the right guys in the room, but I knew the Arrow Films, the
the UK
British
company?
had
They're
just,
doing it?
and that's probably why it's kind of coming back into any kind of dialogue right now. But it's a
Interesting.
very unique visual film by a very distinct director, a guy who really made some very strange movies, but he had come from an arts background,
and then killed
fine
himself
arts.
in a horrible way.
In the editing room, which is a horrible way to die. Literally,
Yeah, well, he did.
Okay.
he wanted
get-
to see himself in a mirror
As he was-
That
expired.
was it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That kind of creeps me out, guys.
Yeah.
But
And
the
they-
good news is the director's cut of that film that he shot himself over did eventually come out
Yeah,
because his
so-
editor kept the film. So that's good. So he killed himself for no good reason.
So
Wow.
it's a
Boy.
win.
There's a lesson in there, editors.
Yeah, I guess so.
Filmmakers.
So we've all seen a lot of good stuff that we want to talk about in the next couple of minutes. But
Oh,
before
yeah.
anything, obviously you know me, Rebekah, and Elric, and Jeff has been on enough that you know his favorite movie is The Fog.
Right.
Amongst other
Nothing's
things.
changed.
Nothing's changed since last episode. But we figured, we'd get to know Cliff a little bit since this is the first time on the show, and Jeff has explained what he does at Shout Factory / Scream Factory. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your role there. I mean, obviously, I've known you for a few years. This is the guy that saw Psycho Legacy and was like, this should be one of our releases. So
Aw.
I'm forever in debt for that. But amongst things like that, what do you do there?
Well, I do work in the acquisitions department. There's a couple of us. And then I oversee and produce the discs. Not all. Most of the Scream Factory titles. And then I do other titles in other genres as well.
And can I ask one thing? When dealing with acquisition and distribution, especially the way you guys do, which is mostly older titles that have been out, is it like you wake up in the morning and go, man, I'd really like to see Prince of Darkness on DVD, and then you make that shit happen? Or is it somebody telling you to do that? How is it? Can you come from that fan perspective with your choices?
Yeah, I want to release titles that I like, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way.
Right.
I mean, I'm fine with acquiring titles that I don't care for or don't like, or
Oh.
that Jeff loves. And
We'll get to that. That was
Can I ask which one? Which one of you?
picked
Who's
Eve of
responsible for
Destruction.
Eve of
Darkness.
Destruction?
Eve of
That's
Destruction.
me.
I was
Gregory
Destruction's
Hines
Cliff,
forever.
but I'm a fan of that. So
Okay.
so he gets
he was
support.
a bigger fan.
I must confess, I've never seen Eve of Destruction.
I haven't seen that one either.
Ridiculous.
I'm writing that
no,
down.
Talk
origi-
about
no
that
original artwork for this one.
No, this one didn't deserve a collector's edition.
It's got Gregory Hines, you don't need art.
When you see the movie, you'll understand. But
Elric
Got
had
tap
never
dancing.
seen I Come in Peace, and he
I hadn't
borrowed
seen
my
that.
copy a couple
Blew
of
my
weeks
mind.
ago. And
Blew your mind.
It kind of
blew
did blow
his
my mind.
mind.
It blew my mind that I
Sorry,
hadn't
Dark
heard of
Angel.
it.
It's under Dark
That's
Angel.
definitely a Cliff pick for sure.
Why Dark Angel? Because I keep
Because
keep
it
calling
fucking
it bullshit.
kicks ass.
No, but I've only known it as I Come in Peace here in the U.S. And if for some reason,
Every time.
MGM just had a reason that it had to be called Dark Angel. I don't know what the reason was.
Wow.
But that's
Okay.
that's what they refer to it as. So that's what we had to.
well, I
Titles.
flipped
So
it right
weird.
over, so it'd be I Come in Peace.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, so just so we know a little bit more about Cliff, would you say the genre titles are some of your favorites to work on at Shout? Like, are you?
Oh, sure,
you're a
no
big
doubt about
genre
it.
fan?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So,
huge.
what are some of your like all-time favorite movies? Because when we had Jeff on, we were talking about our experience going to the video store. The first movies that had an impact on us. So,
Yep.
Video
what
box
were those for
covers,
you?
yeah.
What were the first couple of horror movies that made you a lifelong fan? No pressure.
That's a really good question. Because I remember as being a young kid, as being scared to death of that kind of stuff. I remember being on vacation and my mother and the babysitter that they brought were watching Rosemary's Baby in the other room.
I was a babysitter.
And I could just hear the music, and it was scaring the shit out of me. So I can swear, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
you can.
she just said fuck earlier.
Yeah. Because it fucking kicks ass. I Come in Peace.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think it was until I was in my teens when I was really into horror titles. But I ran movie theaters back in '79 for about 9 years, so I played a lot of those movies. So it really, opened me up to see those films. And then I worked in one of the first video stores in Marin County, so I was seeing all that stuff come through. So I think that's really where my love for horror came from, was back in that period. It was like 79, 80, which was, I got to see Friday the 13th in the theater,
Holy crap.
Wow.
Jealous.
I saw
Very
all
much.
of them in the theater. So,
Even
that's,
Jason X.
oh yeah. I love that
Right,
one.
good for you. I like it too, but not many people saw it in theaters.
You're the two.
Yeah.
I worked on it on DVD at New Line. I was the manager
Right
on
on.
that one.
That's right.
well, look at this Jason X love.
I've known Jeff for like 10 years because he worked for companies before Shout.
That's true.
that we worked with at Fango. So
Yeah, yeah.
we go way back.
Oh yeah.
Why did
You
Jason
were
X
with-
love?
You were with like Genius then, I remember.
I was with Genius too. New Line, Genius
Genius.
products, and
Yeah.
and now here, boy, I never thought I'd last this long, but but I'm working on the best stuff that I've ever worked on, and
Yeah, I applaud you guys. It's got to be. I'm sure there's challenges like at any job, but it's got to be fun, especially since Halloween 2 and 3 came out, which is now over a year and a half ago.
over September of last year. So,
yeah, I mean the
well
amount
over.
of titles that you guys have put out since then has been astronomical.
You've cornered the
Probably
market.
too much.
Probably right. I think we've spoiled fans with our slate.
But you're giving them, it's like the criterion of horror,
Yeah.
guys. I mean,
I came up
But
with that.
what I
by
like-
that was a Rob. I shouldn't claim that.
But the
was a
reason I
Rob.
think it deserves that title isn't because, say, when you're doing like Carpenter and stuff, because somebody was going to do it eventually. It's just how good a job you do
And
with
you know
them,
what?
which is
I'm
great.
not sure if there was. That's the whole thing. Is like we acquired these titles in a little bit of like a. All right, well, we like them. We started off with Halloween and some of the Universal titles, Halloween 2 and 3, and They Live and stuff, and we put it into a brand. But if we hadn't approached these titles, I'm not so sure that the studios would have touched a lot of them. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Cliff?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
because
Who knows? The
'cause they
big ones.
did,
The big ones they would have. But yeah, the ones like They Live in the Fog. Who
Maybe
knows?
They Live in the Fog,
Yeah.
but I don't know about Prince of Darkness. I don't know about Life Force. I don't think
Well,
The
that's what
Burning
I'm
or
getting
From
at. Like, to
Beyond.
me,
or-
Dark
that's
Angel.
Yeah,
that's
Dark
why.
Definitely
Angel,
not.
X-Ray. I mean,
But
they
that's
just
why it's the
never-
Criterion. Criterion goes out and choose. That's not always just the biggest foreign. Sometimes they'll choose stuff that surprises you, and that's what you guys do. Like for me, it was when you chose From Beyond. That
Yeah.
to me was a serious. That signified a real
We mean business.
It does to me. To somebody who watched that film and loved it more than some of the other like big movies, because it just was one of those films that caught your imagination for whatever reason. It's very goopy. But
I can't call it a good film, but it's a film. I like it though.
From Beyond, I think From Beyond's a great film.
I think like Body Parts. It's like, you like Carpenter? What do you think of Body Parts? We're putting that one out.
That would be Body Bags. Body Parts is another horror film.
That's the one where the guy gets a new hand, but the hand's a killer. I have it on Laserdisc.
I love that.
It's pretty
That's
amazing.
a good one too.
In fact, that would be on my list of pushing for you guys.
Don't get Body Parts.
That's great. It's got the best driving scene you'll ever.
That's pretty great. Yeah. You mentioned that trailer before.
I do. No, but I think that's really the commendable thing. It's that it's a mix. You're mixing it up, and then especially like I went on your website last night, and there was 3 or 4 things I either hadn't heard of, like the TV movies that you guys are, which is just so exciting for someone who always wants to see new stuff.
Are You in the House Alone and The Initiation of Sarah?
I have so many that I need to give you that you need to pick up. I've become such a fangirl now where I'm like, hold on, I'm going to give you a list of 100. You need to look over it.
Hopefully this double feature does well, and we'll get more of them.
This is the thing, is that, Cliff and I have our 100 lists. You know what I mean? They usually match a lot of fans. That's the whole thing. And sometimes, we there is a challenge of whether the doors are open enough for us to get them. Cliff can speak more on that for sure.
TV movies usually don't perform very well. I worked for Tower Records for 12 years, and TV movies, we couldn't give them away, so it's kind of tough.
Weird.
Yeah.
Why is that like my passion?
There's some great ones out there.
You used to get to watch them for free, so it's hard to think about paying for them.
And they don't have the star power people maybe haven't heard of them,
right?
But want to see them.
They're very nostalgic, and there's several of them that are out there. We this December we're doing a double feature as a test, as an experiment, and we had lots of requests for TV movies, and so. If this one does well, maybe down the road a volume 2 could be open.
Do we get to know what they are?
We haven't even begun to think about that yet because we haven't.
Crowhaven Farm. Throwing that one in.
Duly noted.
All right. Well,
before we move from Cliff, because I want to, what was of the titles you've released? What was the one like? What was that passion burning? Like, I got to release that. Yeah, that feels great.
Jeff was the fog. Jeff was the fog, and yours.
You see all the love Jeff put into the extras and everything there. So
yeah, I mean,
correction, I did not. I put in some love in the extras, but Cliff and his team are the people that I just guided a little sometimes.
You just love.
I just love.
And that was enough.
I think it's probably Phantasm 2.
Oh, cool.
Because,
nice.
I love the Phantasm films, and it was a real honor to get to work with Don Coscarelli, and so that was probably the best one.
Yeah, we give him a lot of love on the show.
Yeah.
We're pushing for him to do any Insidious sequels because he's done the guy who could push it.
We're like, just give it to Don Coscarelli from here.
He's someone truly creative and visual.
I interviewed him once, and I spent the whole time talking with him about ferrets.
Yeah.
And that was our whole interview. And then I looked back and I was like, I just wasted half an hour of my life that I could have been poking Don Coscarelli's brain talking about ferrets.
But Phantasm 2, Phantasm 1 isn't through Scream?
It's currently with Anchor Bay.
Okay, but that could free up at some point.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a great release from memory, or it wasn't a Blu-ray. It was just it
wasn't on Blu-ray.
That's a problem.
It's weird because Phantasm, the only way you can get a box set was Anchor Bay UK did like a cool one in the Sphere, and I have that one, but here Universal has 2, whereas Anchor Bay has the other ones.
Right.
And now they've got 2.
Don owns the other films.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
I still have, from the original Phantasm 2 release back in the 80s, I still have one of the paperweights that they gave out.
They had one?
I have one. It's sitting in my bookcase at home. So
nice.
Yeah, it's an awesome prize of my collection.
That's cool. Now, and do you come up against any resistance? Like, are you guys the creative team? Like, if you want to do something, is it all go if you can make it happen from the film's point of view? Or is there somebody who could say, Phantasm 2, no, that's not going to sell, and put the kibosh on you? Or is it?
Yeah, I mean, as an acquisition person, I have to present titles to the president, the head of marketing, the head of sales, and they really have to approve it. I mean, I can only do so much to try and sway their mind, but...
Do they know the genre?
No, not at all. But
I don't know if you can answer this, but have there been any titles that they said, no, we don't think this one's going to do?
Yes, many.
Wow.
Many.
Can you list
Many.
all of them right now?
Right now.
Please, all of them.
The one that hurt the most that I didn't get to release was Ms. 45.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, you guys almost did that one.
Yeah.
Zoe
And
Lund
was that,
is
did they?
kind of
well,
a
I'm curious,
fantasy
and
one.
without being gossipy, but like, did they have a
there-
good reason?
Actually,
or-
there was another one too, which was Massacre at Central High.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I've heard
wow.
that.
It was just basically subject matter, which they weren't too swell.
With Miss 45 as well, or was it?
Yeah, that. as
She
well,
gets raped like 3 times in a day. That is a little
But Abel
controversial.
Ferrara sells.
Yeah,
No one's ever put out The Addiction. The Addiction's a very nice film, nice looking film.
yeah.
Oh, is
it's
that
Universal?
Larry?
Him. Abel
Abel
Ferrara.
Ferrara?
The black and white
Oh, wow. I haven't seen
vampire
that.
film with Walken. Doing a good.
Yeah.
It's a good Walken role.
There have been, like I said, there's been some that have hurt like that and others, but we've gotten away with some other ones that, scanners too,
Your biggest fans over here.
I'm telling you, the president, the head of marketing, the head of sales, they don't know what Night of the Demons and Witchboard is,
Right.
but we do. And we were able to come very passionately and be like, hey, these are true horror fan kind of stuff. And,
They mostly listen to us. I mean,
Yeah.
they know we're the people that know what sells.
And you have the track record now, and
yeah,
and you can also, I guess, go to the well with the fans, right? You can show like Facebook and things, and you could say, "Here's a demand."
Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
Has there been a title that only got released because of the fan craving?
No.
Okay.
No.
Nothing that just fans wanting.
So
you
one
guys
of you
going,
has to at least like something about
Well,
every
here's
title.
here's the thing.
Or know that it'll sell.
I mean, we see all the requests, or at least I do for sure, because I'm looking at all of them that are coming in on Facebook. But we monitor the forums and everything, and we see all the titles that are requested. But the thing is that we take note of the ones that are, but we're also fans of this stuff. So it's like, oh yeah, well, we want to release this one too. Of course, some fans are going to be really happy about this. We want to release Without Warning too, but we don't have the rights to it yet. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that it isn't on our radar. It's there, but sometimes certain titles are available to us as easier, than others, and for different reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of complex reasons. I mean, this is where we try to say to the fans, like, it's just not like you said earlier, you wake up in the morning, I want Prince of Darkness. We have it. There's many, many steps to go
sometimes
through.
there's more than one person that owns rights to something, like a producer maybe, or for example, and then that's the one person that's being
That's the
difficult.
issue with without warning. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What's the
There you
hardest one that you've had to really like track and trace the rights? And have you had a title that I remember looking up the Mutilator once and wondering who would release that? Like kind of like how Pieces had all the problems with their producers, and with Mutilator, I found it was out in the UK but not in America, and then there was all sorts of problems with the people who originally put it out, and they disappear. And
Code Red has the rights to it.
Oh, they
Yeah.
okay.
But there's no film elements are gone.
Wow.
I mean, that's
Interesting.
that's,
Okay, so that's a whole other thing we don't think about.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's fascinating. So if there was a print emerged, somebody could do something with it, but
yeah, but you're not going to get a very good transfer off a print.
Right.
You need the
Yeah.
negative or the inner negative or the inner positive. So, that's. I mean,
so a lot of indie films, that's going to be really tough because
the year or two that I worked on the Roger Corman collection was like the worst 2 years of my life because it's like he didn't take care of his film element. So it was just a nightmare to try and release those titles. It was the worst.
Well, Star Crash looked really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw Severin's release of what we showed at Jump Cut of House on Straw Hill, and they were explaining like that film was just butchered, and they took it from like 3 or 4 different sources, and it's still a bit of a mess, but it was cool that somebody bothered to do that.
Have we had a title like that in our roster?
No, but like The Evil is probably one of the lesser transfers, and it was because the only thing that existed was a print. So
You guys put out The
we
Evil?
had to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, double
Roger
feature.
Corman
I
thing.
haven't seen that.
One of the best
dead?
endings in the history.
Ridiculous endings.
Did
but
you,
yes,
somebody
so
was telling me about it recently that
Yeah.
that ending was cut out of almost all international releases because
'Cause
it was
so
just
dumb.
no one could understand
Right.
it. They were like, "What's going on?"
Pretty out there.
It's pretty strange. You should watch The Evil.
Yeah, I do have it at home. It's a double bill with Twice Dead, right?
We screened it for someone's birthday at Jump Cut. They came and go, I just want to watch The Evil on my birthday. Can you make it happen? He put up as a poster of The Evil, and we were like, all right. And I hadn't seen it. And
Wow.
That's
I
like
kind of
Rob's
loved
birthday,
it.
which was awesome.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It was, it's unique. But I think what's really important for us all to remember as cinephiles is like, that's what it is, man. It's like somebody wakes up in the morning going, The Evil is my favorite film of all time.
Yeah,
so it's not always Prince of Darkness, or even though that's not Halloween, but it's not always the big one.
Right.
It's these idiosyncratic films that keep us excited about movie making.
Well, it's like for my birthday this year, if I wasn't being forced to go to another function on the night of my birthday, Dave wanted to rent Jump Cut, and we were going to show Ticks. Just because.
And then you would have to
I already set it up.
see it.
I got a 35 millimeter print for you.
You did?
I guess you'll just have to
Who
not.
rights to Ticks? I
Brian
want
Yesner,
that
right?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Usna sold in that.
We were trying to push him towards you guys for, just so you know, on the record, we tried to push him we did a big interview about how that film had kind of fallen through the cracks and how much we loved it.
And
Society
Necronomicon, and we were like, you should totally.
And he was still he's still thinking about, he just got the
right.
rights. He's going, well, I still have to think about where to go. And I said, well, only one place is going to actually treat the film right. But all he's thinking about is money signs is all he's going to probably make his decision on.
That's another thing. I mean, Cliff we have to deal with a lot too, is sometimes
I wrote to him recently. He didn't reply back. So.
Well, it's like filmmakers in distribution. They have an unrealistic viewpoint of what they're going to get back.
There's sometimes when dollar signs are attached, we're just kind of like,
we lost scanners to Criterion by just a short amount of money, and the guy just never came back to us to see if he could get more money out of us. He just took Criterion's money and ran.
Yeah, but you guys got scanners 3, so screw Criterion.
That's sad.
You have yet to convince me on that one yet. We still have to sit down and watch it.
Yeah, we've got to do a screening sometime, guys. I need to see 2 and 3. I own them on VHS, and I never watched them.
2's all right. 2's kind of almost like a remake of 1. It's pretty similar, except with a more dramatic actor with long hair who's being
3
evil.
is where
Let's
it's
just say,
at.
Rob,
3 is where it's at.
Rob, the Scanners 2 and Scanners 3 appreciates all the publicity and awareness you can get because it's not keeping the doors open at
He's
Scream
definitely plugged
Factory.
it on the show many times.
That's good.
What is the top seller? What was the top of the screen titles? Was that Halloween?
It's Halloween 2 and 3 collectively because we were able to get those last year, at least the DVD versions, into Target. But Blu-ray, it's I think a 3-way tie of They Live, Halloween 2 and 3. They're up there. It might be
Life Force now.
Life Force is
wow.
Life Force.
Vampires in space.
I think
Steve Railsback has a huge draw in Texas.
You think so?
And that's
That's our biggest Amazon title.
It's our biggest Amazon. I will say Life Force. Life Force surprised me. Cliff was pretty much like, this is going to blow it out of the water, but it's done better than some of our other tentpole titles that you would think would have done better than Life Force. Life Force just kind of came on very strong.
That is really shocking to me.
You know what? I'm going to be blunt. It just appealed to a lot of teenage boys at that time in the 80s.
Okay.
You had a naked Matilda May running around.
And
because
Railsback
that was not into me. I was like, vampires in space. Even as a young teen, I was like, okay, we're batshit crazy now. I'm done.
Right.
Thanks.
It's just a crazy film. But it was also a lavish film.
It was, yeah.
High
It really
production
was.
values and very So, and again, when it came out on MGM DVD originally, they didn't even have it in anamorphic widescreen, and that was a 2.35 film, and so we obviously corrected that and got some good stuff. Yeah.
I can say that
2 cuts of it.
Life Force was on the cover of number 46 of Fangoria, and it was one of our highest selling issues ever. So
It's the guy screaming, the skeletal guy. I remember that issue.
And
you have a letter from Tobe Hooper framed.
I do.
Can you talk about that?
But that's about Invaders from Mars. But yeah, I can talk about that.
I thought it was Life Force for some reason.
No, but it's hanging on my office wall. And
an angry letter from
another
Tobe
one of
Hooper
my.
to Fangoria.
I have prize collections, like my another 48 hours clock in my Phantasm paperweight. But I have an angry letter from Tobe Hooper hanging on our wall that was in the Fangoria files, and it almost got thrown away when we moved it. I was like, forget that. We need to frame this. And it is a letter from Tobe Hooper written on Texas Chainsaw 2 Massacre, or Texas Chainsaw 2 Stationary. So it says Saw 2 up at the top, not Chainsaw 2, Saw
that's
2.
Funny.
But it's a letter angry about our coverage of Invader from Mars.
Wow.
It's fun.
Yeah.
So I have it framed now.
Filmmakers are sensitive.
Well, I was going to say, Cliff has to deal a lot with temperamental filmmakers and cast.
We color corrected the film, and Toby showed up, and he was really funny because he's very much like Chop Top was on Chainsaw 2. He's like far out, man. He's very funny, but he was great.
Yeah,
that night.
Well, you've got a track record. I mean, now the track record of just like, these are the best transfers, these are most beautiful presentations with the best extras. That has to go a long way with 90% of these guys. I know sometimes somebody will just be thinking money, you know.
I think it's helping us.
I mean, some people are seeking us out, and that's been
cool.
really cool. Yeah.
I think Psycho 2 and 3, it's cool that that might just bring them back into public interest because they're actually really entertaining films.
That's all I've been trying to do.
I know.
for
You have been
years.
for a long time.
Well, you know what?
And
Here's the thing. It doesn't hurt us that Bates Motel
Right, of
is
course,
doing
yeah.
well. So, there's a little bit, there's renewed interest. It's sort of it wasn't unplanned drafting because you had Psycho 2 and 3, Cliff, on your list for a while before Bates Motel was even airing. So kind of worked out that way on a weird irony.
Plus, you got them out there before Van Sant could remake them both. Right? 2 and 3. Now that would be interesting.
Let's not talk about that remake.
I want to ask both of you, what are your holy grail title? Like, what if rights, filmmakers, money, everything aside? What is your holy grail title?
Mine is Suspiria.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I love
Where
that.
is that now? Because I haven't seen a blue of that. I've only seen the DVD.
I think I have a feeling, but
Somebody
I've
has
heard
the
rumors.
I think so. Yeah.
I've heard rumors that somebody might already have it.
Yeah.
Wow. It's out in the UK though, right? Did it come
Yes.
out somewhere on
I mean,
Blu-ray?
in the
Yeah.
UK, everything's out. That's the
UK.
weird thing about the UK.
Right.
I don't know how that happens, but
we get a lot of UK fans that are like, how come you guys don't send over? And we actually have US and UK fans fighting on the Facebook page. Like, well, you have this. Well, like, sorry, well, you can't. Like, that's
Right.
like, I mean, yeah, the rights are kind of tricky with that.
Region free.
what about you? Holy Grail.
Holy Grail was the fog, but if
Second choice.
if rights and everything, if elements, rights, everything was not an issue, boy, that uncut version, never seen Friday the 13th Part 2 would be amazing. Just because it was chopped from the MPAA, there's all that spears between two people. There's all that there's a lot of stuff that has just always been rumored. It'll never come out because there've been so many, editions of it and people have looked and whatever, but that would be fantastic. I mean, I have favorites like I've mentioned Alligator. I love that
Alligator
movie.
We all like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're big fans.
Alligator's a good movie. And
I got to ask my co-hosts as well. Holy Grail titles that you want them to release.
Oh, that's a tough one. Do you have one off the top of your head?
Well, I mean, you might already be doing it, so this might be putting it, but and this is genuine because it's such a weird movie. God Told Me To by Larry Cohen is a film now. That's a film I put on my list.
They immediately went, no.
Sorry, it's not.
And
it's
this
not
one's
there.
more of a question. Is somebody else doing In the Mouth of Madness?
Yes,
so that's coming
somebody
out.
else is
Yeah.
Warner.
Sadly, Warner released
You
it
guys
on
would have done a
Blu-ray, which
kick-ass
is
one on
great,
it.
but they didn't do anything. As
You
far
guys
as
would
Yeah,
have
I
that's,
kicked
know.
ass
I mean,
on
and
that.
that's the
They
difference
put
is
the
like,
old commentary on it.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
well, at least they did that.
Yeah.
Theirs is just a regular release with, carted over features. That's the thing. It's like, it's not the same quality as this Prince of Darkness we're looking at.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. But I don't even think God Told Me To is a dream one. It's more like that's something I would love to see right now treated well and people rediscover about Larry's work because people can remember Q and some of the ones they remembered and the kind of the grindhouse stuff, but there's something about that film that is deeply strange.
I think Blue Underground has it.
Okay, that makes sense.
What about you, Rebecca?
I don't know. I like weird films. I would say like Sargasso manuscripts or 7 Footsteps to Satan.
When I was here last time, you really loved Death Becomes Her.
I still love
Yeah,
Death
that
Becomes
should be your
Her.
title right there.
I do. But no, I mean, out of the ones that I would love to see get a release stateside, Society is definitely one of them. So Brian Usna, if you're listening, you should definitely check out Scream Factory. They're awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Please, Brian.
we
call
already
us.
have your extra feature filmed.
Yes.
We've already shot an
Elric
hour-long
and I
interview with
shot
them,
it.
so
It's all ready to
about
go.
it being obscure. Well, the reason that title was interesting to me because we were planning a whole series of these underrated films was where I came from. It wasn't underrated or obscure. It was like a normal. It sat next to Reanimator on the shelf.
Yeah,
so I
it's
thought
true.
of it, and From Beyond, especially those two had a lot in common. And so I just thought it was a normal release. And then if you grew up in the UK, you would have thought it was like the number one gore film of all time. Empire voted it. So it has this cachet. And then you would come here, and I would struggle. Besides this crowd, I'd struggle for anyone to have heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
And then they see a couple
And-
clips and go, "Oh my god,
Well,
what is
and
that?"
when I saw it as a kid, like the VHS tape that my parents owned, it did not have the shunting scene in it. It was cut out, so it was heavily edited. Because like the weird sex scene where they're talking about how they really enjoyed the daughter that weekend was cut out.
Right.
And
The dark satire.
I have not seen this movie.
It's dark.
have you not seen Jeff, we're having a viewing. You're seeing
I don't
Society.
know. This one sounds.
I have a
this one
UK
sound-
import of it,
This
so
one
we're gonna have
sounds
to
Well, the
watch
best thing is
it.
Yuzno was very honest about it. He's like, well, I'm not very good with actors, obviously, but, I got the gore stuff right because I really worked with the right person and he understood they wanted to make art, like surreal art. They went for it. And it's,
So it's Screaming
it's
Mad
insane.
George.
Yeah, Screaming
Yeah.
Mad George. We couldn't talk to him because he teaches in Japan, but it's...
He sneaks back into the country
Yeah,
occasionally, but
it-
he's not allowed to like publicize it or something. So
It's just weird that those satirical, and I think I have a real soft spot for those, like all of like The Stuff is one of the other my favorite films, and I just think that dark satire when they can get it right, and especially in genre films, it's really subversive in a way. But
did The Cook, the Thief, the Wife, and her lover get a
Peter
re-release?
Greenaway, that's a Criterion
It's
type
a-
film.
I don't think
it's a
so.
Miramax.
Okay, that's
Oh, it
another
is, yeah.
one that I always loved that I thought that somebody should do a really good version of and clean it up a bunch. It's dark,
I'd pick
twisted.
Popcorn.
Popcorn.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd love to see that come out again
Christy
on a
Jones
Blu-ray.
been
or
trying to
something.
get that
Yeah.
like re-released for years, but it's such a
fun
good
one.
title and it's so low budget, but it's got so many fun elements to it, and the soundtrack's awesome. Yeah, that's a
I dig
really
that
good
one.
one.
We get a lot of requests for it, but it's with other people. Is it? I don't know who's.
I think there's a rights problem with that title
Yeah.
too.
Are there any that you guys like that you are just in limbo hell for everyone? Like no one can get to them because they're all fucked up. Like Pieces was at some point, I'm sure.
Oh,
What?
Pass the Twizzlers.
Oh, Fright Night 2 is one.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm on record here as saying I like it more than one.
That's the one with the
I
guy
really
who always
like Tommy Lee
plugs,
Wallace
right?
as a director. I really do.
Bold.
that
I
title
like
is
him more.
definitely one of our most highly requested titles, next to The Keep and
The Keep just
but the rights for
that
Fright.
just came out.
No, the Cinefamily was playing a new print that came from England.
Oh, that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking
that
of.
had something restored about it. I can't remember.
I gave away a VHS copy of The Keep
Mm.
at last trivia night.
So what's the story with Fright Night 2? There's just nobody knows who exactly.
I've gone to about 5 parties and nobody claims to own the film.
So how can it play on TV? Like, so I just saw it recently on MGM or what?
They may have the TV rights. on it,
Paramount has
or-
TV rights, but Paramount has no video rights to it.
See, and I'm glad that Cliff can say this because
Right.
again, it's requested a lot, and if the fans are listening to it right now, we look. I mean, we do see these titles, and
So how do you trace it though? Like you go to the last known
Yeah, I mean,
source.
yeah, I mean the company that produced it doesn't exist anymore, so then you have to find out, who bought up that company and who owns it. But yeah, I mean, everybody we've approached, they claim to not own the film. So
See, Friedkin had that with Sorcerer. He was explaining to us that everyone who reads Variety saw that William Friedkin sues Paramount. But what he was describing to us is, no, I was completely harmonious with them. I sued them to get to the point where it has to be called discovery, which is the period where they have to go into their vaults. Otherwise, no one's going to look because he knew it was there. He knew they had the elements. And so then they have to go and look. And it was all very amicable, but it was the only way to get action started, which I thought was interesting.
I mean, when we put out The Stepfather a few years ago, I mean, I knew that ITV owned the film, and they said we don't believe we own it, and they said if you want to offer us a certain amount of money, if it's worth our time, we'll hire somebody to go into the basement and pull all the boxes out to go through all the paperwork.
Cool.
So we made them an offer. They did it, and they found out yes, they did own it. So
even though you knew that they owned it.
I knew they owned it, yeah.
So how do you think something like that would eventually resolve, especially with Fright Night 2? Do you think eventually someone will just push it that step forward? or would
hopefully
you,
somebody's listening tonight.
Yeah.
because I mean, somebody can make real money from that, right? Or there's still
I don't know about real money,
Right.
but
It is
Well,
Fright
some money,
Night too,
right?
Elric.
it's not like Sorcerer.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that DVD for Fright Night 2 goes for like $100 or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I
It's pretty.
had no
it's-
idea.
no,
I had
I
no idea
mean,
that.
like I said, it's requested, but it's sometimes fan voice can also be bigger than. Like, I go back to when I used to work at New Line, and there was all that big uproar over the summer on Snakes on a Plane, and it opened and it bombed.
Oh yeah.
And there's sometimes a louder voice on this type of stuff than what meets the sales dollars, and that's sometimes where you have to do that balance. I mean, they're
Everybody wanted Rolling Thunder, and we finally put it out, and it didn't sell. It's like,
Wow.
where are
I'm
all
gonna
these
buy
people
more
that...
copies. I'm one of those people, by the way. It's one of my
I
favorite
bought
movies.
Rolling Thunder, guys.
I'm going to
pre-ordered
say
it.
we saw some of our most passionate fans come out for Ninja 3, The Domination, which we, originally wasn't going to be put out on Blu-ray. We did a new transfer for it. it's done okay, but it's not nearly close to what I thought it would be based on fan chatter and excitement. Right. You know what I mean? And sometimes we have to put it in perspective. Like, there's fans that are buying Life Force at a huge volume that are passionate, but we have passionate fans for Scanners 3. There you go, Rob. That are not coming out in droves like that. And so,
do you have like I'll assume you do, but do you have like a sales plan where you say, okay, well, we can do, Scanners 3 and Rolling Thunder, knowing that they're smaller, and as long as the next one is the big one, the fog's coming.
It's
we know a lot of people,
right?
Yeah, it's
how conscious are you with that release?
I would have never expected Rolling Thunder to perform poorly. So, I mean, there are titles like that surprise you, and then there are titles that, sell a ton of units that you didn't expect it to do it. There's not that many of those, but there are an awful lot of titles that, disappoint you when they finally come out.
Rolling Thunder looks great on Blu-ray.
Oh my gosh.
And it is one of the best films ever made.
What's the matter with you people out there?
But
Buy
it could
Ninja
be that
3
they
and Rolling Thunder immediately.
But I'd say with both those titles, it could be that the fans who like it or know of it are really into it, and then the rest of the people haven't even heard of it as a film. Yeah. How do you get to that new audience with a film? That's the tough part.
Entertainment Weekly wrote about Rolling Thunder twice. It was in their top 10 for 1 week, and then they reviewed it as well.
Named a company after it. So.
I mean,
and you had Tommy Lee Jones on there, new interview. Yeah. That was amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, word of mouth. I mean, that's really how. I mean, the thing is that so Rolling Thunder right now, it came out in May. May. All right. So early snapshot of it is like, maybe it's not performing to expectation, but we had the rights for years. Sometimes these titles breathe. We found, we were in a meeting just a while ago where the Walking Tall trilogy, it kind of came out when it came out and did all right. Yeah. We looked at our numbers and we're like, oh God, this thing's steadily sold. Yeah. So that's why having these things in a brand and having it all collected. And one of the things I do is I kind of try to consciously, I'll put up, here's all of our titles on a status update. So people go, oh, I didn't know you were putting that out.
Exactly.
Friends also talk. Right now. People, say, God, you really got to get this, or they show them at parties. It gets stuck in consciousness.
There must be trends. Like suddenly, let's say Tarantino casts William Devane as the lead in his next film because he was rolling. Suddenly everyone wants to rediscover that, or Bose Fenton, or
you never know. Well, they're remaking Town of the Dreaded Sundown, with who's Ryan Murphy, I think, is involved in it. Yeah. I mean, that will help that title immensely next year when it comes out. We'll be able to draft it, So things, happen. And again, to Cliff's point, some titles overperform, some underperform. Thankfully, in the line, it seems to balance it out. But we would like to see bigger sales on some of the, I guess, so-called smaller titles, not the John Carpenter ones, whatever, But
how did Howling perform? The Howling.
Really well.
Decent.
I would have thought so.
I'm also curious how Deadly Blessing performed.
See, now
I just watched that this week.
That was a Razzie winner, don't forget.
It's a slow burn.
Deadly Blessing did not perform to expectations. It is a weird movie. I love it. Cliff knows I love it very much. It was probably one of the.
Cliff is sighing. Does he not love it?
No. He's probably sighing because
I love Wes Craven, but I don't love that movie.
Okay.
Yeah, he's probably
or his other movie with Deadly in the title.
I love Deadly Friend.
It's my favorite one.
So cheesy.
What? Deadly Friend?
Yeah.
Deadly Friend is showing on the Fangoria VOD channel right now.
Oh, there you go.
And the Fangoria Hulu channel, you can watch Deadly Friend.
No, Deadly Blessing, had never been out before in the States. We gave it the collector's treatment. In hindsight, maybe the new artwork and stuff like that didn't need to be on that title. But we gave it love and was one of the first out of the gate. And it was good. You had Halloween 2, 3, They Live out of the gate, but you also had movies like Death Valley, Deadly Blessing that had never been out. So, you started off which is still our model, tentpole titles, but then the underground stuff. And some of the underground stuff is going to work and some of it isn't. Deadly Blessing is yet to meet its sales expectation, but, we pulled out all the stops for it.
Does somebody have Serpent in the Rainbow?
It's Universal.
Okay, and have they done a Blu-ray? No.
I
mean, that's a film that could just kick ass for someone if they re-released it.
That and People Under the Stairs.
Yeah.
And Shocker.
Well,
Universal has all
all
three of them, and we get requests for them. I mean, again, it's just a matter of, whether or not we can get that door open again.
Right,
So
right.
people think this is the other thing too, and let's just be very clear, is that, we've put out titles from MGM and we've put out titles from Universal, but it does not mean that we have all access to everything that they've ever done.
Sometimes they want to hold on to the titles and they say, well, we want to hold on it because we haven't exploited it for Blu-ray, even though they're not going to, and it's like you just have to wait it out and hope that you can work it out.
I think the question that I want to know is why don't they want it on Blu-ray? Is it because there's not enough money for what they're compared to what they make on other ways, or that makes no sense to me why you'd hold on to something?
You have to understand their sales objective is much higher than ours is, because more people have to touch it to get it out.
Yep.
Right.
We're a smaller company, so we can put something out and sell a couple thousand units and still probably be profitable. They couldn't.
Yeah.
They would lose a ton of money.
Psycho 2 and 3 is a perfect. I mean, I talked to people at Universal initially, and they're like, "No, we don't think Psycho 2 and 3 will sell." At least for their numbers.
Yeah.
I'm sure they sell respectable numbers for a company of
What happens to say Psycho 4 then? Make Garris's one.
I don't know.
Is
One of the questions.
I saw.
actually
Listen,
liked that one.
I saw
I don't
that
remember
Psycho
that
4 came up on the Twitter questions,
Twice.
and so I can.
We just wanted to put out the 2 theatrical films,
Right.
and
Okay.
that was.
But if those do well, is there a possibility? I guess that's the question. And I'm curious.
There's always
too.
a possibility, but
All
Don't
right.
play with them. Don't toy with them. Just put them down
Let's
now.
just say this: they'd have to do well. But remember, Psycho 4 is with Universal, and we just mentioned 3 films: Shocker, Serpent and the Rainbow,
That they're hanging
and what was the third one?
People under the
People
stairs.
Under the Stairs.
So if you had a
that
choice.
will sell more and are requested more than Psycho 4. It's not
Right.
because we don't like Psycho 4 or anything like that, but if we are able to get an inroad into Universal again, there are other titles that are sort of above that list. I want the Sentinel at all costs,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we can't
Totally
get
with
it.
you on that.
You
Yeah,
know
totally
what I mean?
with you.
And it's requested,
film.
but so we got a little bit of some flack on Psycho 4, unfortunately, because we were like, well, how come you didn't put this one? It's like, guys, we can't get every movie. It's just, we financially cannot get every movie.
in our last deal, we had the Child's Play movies. And they said, we'll give them to you, but we're going to put out a box set, so you can't put them out till 2014. And at that point, I just said, well, then there's no point. Looking back now, I wish I had, because they didn't do any extras on Child's Play 2 or 3. So those probably would have done well. So if the door is open again and then we can make another deal, I probably would put those on there.
I saw the new one this week.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll get to that in a
Yeah,
second. Let me get to that.
You know what? Let's,
Can I ask about body parts, body bags?
You keep asking. You keep
Body
steering
bags.
it. I had a whole format.
Yeah, that's the show.
This is the one and only time I've ever brought
That's
a
the only
goddamn
time he's brought
notebook.
notes, so let's just
And he
totally...
I know. We
completely
never
just
have a
shit all over
format.
my
Now
notes.
you're all like
There's a
regimented,
reason
Rob.
one person on Earth thinks we're the best podcast on air, and that's because we don't do notes.
I don't even need the notebook.
Throw your notes out.
So
No, can I ask about body parts? Body
He's
bags.
got it no matter what.
All
so.
I want to ask, I just want to know what the expectations with something like that is. That it's Carpenter, underseen Carpenter,
Yes.
largely forgotten by a lot of people, but then rabid fan base who really want to see it, right?
Well,
So
it's also unedited for the first time. The artisan version was cut. So
I
this is
didn't know.
I didn't know that.
This is the full version of the film
Oh, cool.
too. So
Big difference?
We did a new transfer.
is it very
Body
I
bag.
don't remember seeing the cut version. So I mean,
Body Bags looks great. We have great extras on it. It's not going to be, from what we're seeing so far on Amazon sales, we get to see a tracking of what's coming in. It's not coming in like a Prince of Darkness. It's not coming in like a They Live. I don't think we expected it would come in like that, but it's just, it is like you just said, it needs to be rediscovered and
maybe word of mouth and maybe some covers on Fangoria.
Oh
and
yeah,
such.
when this
Hint,
when
hint.
Yeah.
Cover on
wink, wink.
Fangoria.
No, when this gets reviewed,
We'll talk.
when this gets reviewed,
Rob threw his notes across the room.
poor Rob.
I'm angry at Elric.
No,
He sulks all the time.
but you had fan questions. On
Yeah,
I
I
did.
there you go.
I'm gonna cut right to the fan questions because fuck you.
But guys, our
mess.
schedule.
Yeah, what a mess. No, I want to do
No,
There's
you know
a
what?
mess.
When Body Bags is reviewed, I think that our numbers for Amazon will go up. Again, it's a very handsome package that we put together.
It's pretty obvious now that a lot of the fans are waiting for the first reviews to see what people say before they, even pre-order the titles. I mean, you pre-order a title, you can always cancel it. So I don't understand why.
But you guys still do have a good track record. Like at this point, like I have no doubt that your transfers are going to be top notch, and for the most part, it's weird.
But
like
there's people on the internet that just,
there's a speck of dirt 30
they
minutes
have
in.
absolutely nothing better to do in their life than to just, get on the internet and be the first person to say this sucks.
Yeah.
Because they get some sort of power out of it. It's just crazy.
Which title did you get the most heat from?
Oh,
Wait,
geez,
it's
which
like-
one did we not?
Well, no. Like Phantasm 2, people are swearing that we just took a VHS master and up-resed it to high def. And I talked to the people at Universal, and they said, no, it was a supervised high-definition transfer in our facility.
Yeah,
So
looks
it's
great.
just, it's like, some fans are just,
Could be they're watching on shitty TV.
This is what I'll say. For a majority of the fans, the ones that get it, the ones that are supportive and happy and are with us, we couldn't be any more grateful. We do see, I once said it was 1%. I now think it's more like 5%. I think the more that we grow, the bigger that we're becoming, the more that we're getting scrutiny from people. And so if there is a speck on the transfer, if there is something that's not right on the packaging, if the artwork isn't to a particular liking, it's hell hath no fury. And, it's sad because it's like we all love these films. I mean, we're all common thread is horror films. And so when we're seeing people kind of actively trying to take us down on some level, it's very
Well, the one that I think is unbelievable, and I will come to your defense in this, is you guys, first of all, you guys got Night of the Demons and Witchboard coming out.
Yes.
And you got this beautiful painted cover for Night of the Demons.
Oh, boy.
And I remember you showed it to me maybe a day or two before you debuted. I'm like, oh, that's great. Linnea Quigley front and center, which is who I think of when I think of that movie. And all the fans are like, why isn't Angela up front? Why is Linnea Quigley up front but not Angela? And I'm like, Angela's on the cover of every goddamn version of every sequel of every.
And she's on the reverse, right?
Yes, she's on the reverse.
reverse.
I will say this. This is I always try to look at things at glass half full. That artwork reveal ended up being one of our top most viewed posts. And again, from a marketing standpoint, hey, a little controversy brings
they're
more
talking
attention to
about
the
it.
title. People
Yeah.
know what Night of the Demons is, and people have passion on it. Now, we've seen the knocks on our artwork plenty of times. And after the Night of the Demons, debate, Cliff and I have just sort of resigned, like, you know what? We are not going to be able to please everybody on these covers. Everything, whether it be film, artwork, anything, is always open to subjection because it's art. You know what I mean? And so we have to like it. We have to feel that the majority of our fans are going to like it. And then we move forward. And
This one's pretty amazing.
That,
I mean, that Prince of Darkness sounds like that would make a great name.
Here's the thing. Prince of Darkness looks fantastic, but we saw people that didn't like it at all. And we saw people that didn't like our choice of artist on this for other reasons. And we, all this stuff too. And it's like, we won't be able to please everybody. On the collectors, that's why we add the reverse, because if you don't like it, fine. Turn around, look at your theatrical art.
Whose idea was that?
Just
That was a great
be
idea.
happy that Prince of Darkness is out on Blu-ray. It's
We-
either this or nothing.
We'd love to say that, but by saying that, we can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We
but
don't
I can.
want it,
Rob
but you can. You can. You know what I mean? What were you going to say? I'm sorry about...
Oh, I was just curious whose idea that flipped, because that comes from a real collector's
Mutual.
viewpoint. Yeah,
Definitely mutual.
yeah.
Well, we did it. We started doing that on the Corman stuff, right, Cliff?
Yeah, and I did it at another label I was at called BCI. I did it with some other titles. So,
Yeah.
it was something that, I mean,
Do you guys have a favorite cover of the painted covers you guys have put
That's a
out?
good question.
probably Life Force.
Yeah,
That is a good one.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to say, although The Fog is my favorite film, it's tied with Prince of Darkness and Cat People.
Yeah.
I think they're just stunning. I look at the Prince
I
of
didn't even know you
Darkness.
guys put out Cat People.
It's coming.
January.
Coming.
January.
Oh, cool.
I just think that
Very sexy film.
they're just, but the composition on Prince of Darkness in particular is just, it's just symmetrical.
Yeah.
It speaks the film. I mean, it's just
I like the Phantasm 2 one, and that was like a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's so boring," and it's like, well, when you think of the movie, you think of the tall man.
What
else would you
put
like
that? And that's the other thing too is you're sort of we're in a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like I guarantee you on some of our future covers, if we started going more, and we may do it a more simple route on one or whatever. Oh, we'll get that's it, or it's the same busy people.
Or it's the floating heads cover,
or whatever. I mean, we just cannot please everybody. Nope. So we will like it. We hope the fans will like it. We think it's a fun way of having old and new, as someone put it, retro modern, and just do our best.
Nice.
All right.
It's collectible. I like that.
Yes.
I'm not going to say anything to throw you off.
I'm waiting to make sure
I'm
you're
going to
not
let you do
interrupt me.
You take the show wherever you want to go, Rob.
Rob has
What you got,
questions.
Rob?
Is that
What you
okay?
got?
I've got questions for the gentleman here.
Is this the fan? Are we going to fan questions now?
Is this okay with you, Elric?
But you broke the schedule.
We didn't
It
talk
doesn't
about
matter.
what we
You're
watched
upset.
this
It's
week.
broken.
That was supposed to be second,
We'll do that
according
at
to
the
the
end.
schedule.
At the end.
I don't know if I can handle this type of rearrangement, guys. Getting a little OCD here.
Yeah.
I lent you this movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I haven't talked
So
about
there.
it.
No, we'll get to it later because you already screwed up the format.
My notes are all out of order now.
Okay,
I improved
questions. Here we go. Okay, so
Are these the fan questions?
fan questions
Okay.
for the Scream Factory crew. We're going to go to Twitter first. Benjamin Wright, he has two questions actually. One is, what can we expect from The Shadow Blu-ray in 2014? I didn't even know you guys announced that.
Yeah.
It's
Shadow?
not in the Scream line. We did a poll and asked, should the Shadow be in Scream or Shout? And overwhelmingly, they're like, Shout. So, Cliff?
Okay.
We're still working on the extras, but I think people will be very happy.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go. He also asks, since you guys have done a lot of these other Carpenter titles, any chance for more Carpenter titles, vampires, for example?
That's at Sony, so probably not.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Plus, you're just releasing good Carpenter films, right?
I wasn't going to go there, but
Not just, and there's a misogyny line too, right? Where you just put out vampires and all the misogynistic films. Sorry, Twitter friend.
yes,
So there's two Twitter users, Killer Chris, who's asking about a certain title, and then Bloody. I feel uncomfortable saying this word. So see
I
you
know
next
who you
Tuesday.
are. Yeah, see you next. I know.
Bloody
I've
see you
played that
next
guy.
Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
He's tweeted us a few times. I
Yes.
wondered about that
So,
handle.
I'm gonna shoot the titles out that they're both requesting, and just tell me if you've heard them, if they're available, what the story is. Trick or Treat.
Oh,
That's
The rock and
heavy metal
roll
one.
one.
highly requested.
Yeah.
yeah.
Film elements might be tough on that one. I would have thought
Yeah, I've looked into it a few times,
Yeah.
but
because they don't even have a good trailer online. It's like a really bad VHS one.
Okay. No, nothing on that.
No.
No
Sorry.
comment.
Chud.
Chud is with Image.
Image. Okay. Oh, The Stuff. There you
It's
go.
with Image as well.
Image.
I would have loved you guys to do that. A painting of the stuff would have been so cool from you
Yeah.
guys.
Motel Hell.
Of course.
MGM.
It's MGM, yeah.
Yeah.
Ice Cream Man.
That's
Don't know that
the
one.
Clint Howard
That-
one.
Yes.
Howard
Oh,
one.
Clint Howard one.
Wow.
I think
Yeah, it's Clint Howard. It was, I want to say 89,
Yeah,
90?
I don't ever go. Well,
I could be
I
way off on
rarely
that
see
date.
requests for that.
Yeah, that one's
This
kind
is
of...
this is a
Well, there's
out of
one.
left field. Yes.
It's actually a pretty amusing film, I have to say. Is that
Clint
not
Howard
out on
was born to
TV?
play that
Do we
role.
have any idea?
I don't know
it's
about
it's Mill Creek has it.
Oh,
I don't know about the
look
special
at Cliff
edition.
Notes right off the bat.
Fun, yeah.
Well, this is
like
Cliff,
Stump the Champ.
It's
It's
Cliff's,
like, beep.
it's Cliff's stock and trade. He would.
All right, keep them coming.
Okay, so now we're on Facebook. Nathan, I mean, you sort of talked about the covers, but he's curious how you go about finding the cover artist. He says, I love the painted posters. I really appreciate that you're bringing them on the back of the Blu-ray covers and doing the originals as well. So, I mean, where do you get your roster of artists, I guess?
It's basically just people that we've sort of found on the internet, really, is where a lot of them came from.
Yeah.
I mean, were you a fan of some of these guys beforehand?
Yeah,
or-
because I was a real fan, and still am, and I know you are, of the Mondo posters, and that's really where it came from for me, was that, I wanted to do something like that for the covers, and Jeff loved the idea, so that's where we went with it. But, most of them just come from people that we found their artwork on the internet.
The interesting thing about posters and covers is that they were often made, as marketing tools, by only the people who had seen the film that hadn't been received by an audience yet, right? So it's like before films received.
Right.
Now you guys are making art based on how those films felt nostalgically.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a powerful thing to tap into because, half the time the marketing people were just there to exploit one little element that would sell it, like Halloween or something.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really interesting thing to think about.
It's tricky, and it is definitely, again, when we get down to a new title, it has a new cover, like Night of the Demons, great example. Linnea Quigley, she's the ultimate scream queen. That movie is very much known with her in lipstick. Of course, we would want to exploit that. And so we put that element along with Angela and the haunted house and kids in a Halloween getup and everything like that. And we put it to the artist, say, here you go. Artist came back, looked good, looked fun, looked comedic, looked like the jokey vibe of the film. And then
why would you want to draw a new cover and just draw the poster? I mean, there's just no point in doing
Right,
it.
exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to pull it up while you're talking. I haven't seen it.
Okay. Lance Hendrickson. I hope it's the real Lance Hendrickson. He wants to know the horror show. We are excited about the new commentary with Sean Cunningham. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Can you please reveal one more feature, one more extra for the Blu-ray coming out November 26th? Thanks.
There is an interview with Mr. Kane Hodder on there as well.
Oh, there you go. You heard it here first.
Very cool.
Totally scoop shock.
Wait.
Take that, Turek. A bunch of other titles from Macready Mike. So
I have a list here too that I wrote down.
He wants to know possibilities of Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Boy, that would be a great one.
Yeah.
Is that still Anchor Bay?
I think it's still with Anchor Bay, yeah.
I know
Number
that
two?
the theatrical titles for that are.
I would go nuts
Yeah,
for
you
number
and
two.
AJ would go crazy
I
for number two.
wait, for 2, Garbage Man?
Yeah, Garbage Day.
Garbage Day.
Garbage Day, I'm sorry.
Classic.
I can't believe I misquoted that.
The guy whose eyebrows.
We're going to edit that out
Garbage
just so you don't get flagged.
Who was it that we had on the show that decreed he was the greatest actor? It was AJ.
AJ.
Said he was the greatest
I agree
actor.
with
The
that.
greatest performance, yeah.
It's
definitely.
one of
the
one of
guy who
greatest
said
All I
Garbage
remember
Day
is
in part 2.
eyebrows. I
Yes.
just remember his eyebrows. They were everywhere.
Ridiculous.
I'll sit you down and point it out and explain to you why it's one of the greatest
It
performances
is
of all
not.
time.
It is.
See, I question this as well.
I'll take Billy in Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 1 any day.
Right. He's pretty
that's
good.
good. That's
But he's
pretty
in
good.
two
I'll take
as well.
Bill Moseley in part 3 with his brain above his head. Love you, Monty.
House on Sorority Row.
That's with
Somebody-
Scorpion.
Yeah.
Scorpion. Okay. Madman, which was
Code Red.
Code Red put that out.
Code Red has it.
There's a DVD of that, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Any recent horror releases that you think would be good for the Scream Factory?
New films.
Yeah,
New
anything
films?
recent. This is from Lauren.
Well, we have some
We have a couple.
some in the mix
Yeah.
for next year that we
Yeah.
haven't announced yet. One we'll hopefully announce at the end of the month.
Yeah, we have a deal with Chiller Films. So
Okay.
we'll be putting out some of their films that they're taking out theatrically.
I hope one of them is a Larry Fessenden movie.
I loved Beneath.
That'd be hard, though, wouldn't it? Because Glass Eye Pix is his...
Yeah, but Chiller.
But was Beneath made under Glass Eye?
But it was
No,
for
it wasn't.
Chiller.
It was
But
for
it was for
Chiller. No, it wasn't
Chiller,
Glass
so
Eye. It was
therefore
just
it's
Chiller.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And we all liked it a lot. So if you guys did happen to pick that one, it'd be a very smart
never-
move.
We
You
know
never
some
know.
people
We'd
who
be-
might do some very good commentary on it.
we'd be very
'cause
happy about it.
You never know.
We have a show talking about
Still my
how much
favorite
we
death
love
scene
it.
of the year. I still maintain my favorite death scene.
You know I have a thing
happens
about-
in that rap.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
next scene.
Brilliant.
I have a thing
No
about
spoilers,
giant
but-
fish movies. They're my passion. It doesn't matter how bad or good they are. I love them. Larry Fessenden was good, but you can literally put sharks in Venice. I freaking love it. Sharks in the canals of Venice.
Or a shark in
But-
the mole in Australia.
Yeah.
The most absurd thing I'd ever seen.
I like that movie.
It was pretty good.
Sharks
It
in
was absurd.
grocery store. It's genius. I love it.
Bates.
But if you take a Sharknado, it's just too far.
It is too far.
It's
I've never even heard of this title. J. Michael Kober, he says, a while back, I was under the impression that Shout Factory would be releasing Sergio H. Santiago's final film, Road Raiders, a.k.a. Water Wars, starring Michael Madsen.
I have never
This
heard
was
of this
some
thing.
time
I'm
ago.
writing this down.
Haven't heard any updates.
What's it called again?
It's not ours.
Not one of your titles. All right,
Road
there you go.
Raiders?
Road
Never heard of
Raiders,
it.
a.k.a. Water Wars.
That's a bad sign when these 5 people have not heard of your
Right,
title.
that is
Sorry,
I will
Michael
have seen
Madsen,
it by
but
next
Very
week.
obscure, yeah.
I've seen Iguana with Michael Madsen in a small role, and I haven't heard of that film, so that's telling you something.
Yeah.
All right, that's all.
Okay,
That's
I got
all
a few. I
think
got to
I'll write
fire
down.
off here.
That was all of the fan questions.
There were a few more, but I mean, some of them you guys already kind of answered, and others. Are
Wow, we
just
got
like-
off.
Okay.
we got off
I'm
pretty
firing
easy.
off a few more titles at you guys.
Okay.
Fade to Black.
I've been chasing that for years. I don't think we'll be putting it out now.
Damn. Messiah of Evil.
Oh, that's
It's Code Red.
Yeah, because that got released on DVD.
Private Parts.
Warner.
Sons of...
Unless you're talking about the Howard Stern.
No. The Pit.
That's a
That's a heavily requested one,
That's
right?
at Image.
The Gate.
That's at Lionsgate.
yeah, that would be a good one.
Okay.
Lionsgate.
Do you guys think that when you finally release the Ghoulies box set, that'll be like your holiday day? Is that when you just wake up one day and go, I'm done? This
Ghoulies
job.
box set.
The job's gotten to me. I just released all the Ghoulies films. I didn't even know there's 5 of them.
And the Troll films.
Yeah,
Right.
the Troll films.
We're just looking over some of the titles that you got coming up.
Yeah, let's talk about upcoming.
Yeah.
That's a good.
We talked before we got on about Nightbreed, the Cabal Cut, which a lot of people are excited about. But again, this seems like it's going to be quite a challenge.
This is like
how far
a
along
huge
are
thing
you
for
so
you guys.
far?
Because a lot of our fans I know have not seen the Cabal Cut because it was, it was very much screened in select cities or select festivals. And for those of you guys who haven't seen it, it's a little rough around the edges, being, polite about it, where you're literally looking at, a nice clean film print and then really like second generation VHS footage. And sometimes it's so degraded you can barely see what's going on.
When like all film, you can follow the bad image, and it's the sound that takes you out of the film.
Completely.
I think what is the very foreign looking
The Smoke Woman.
The Smoke Woman really threw me out because they had a different voice. They had an original,
Yes.
and it was like a Valley Girl. And
she came in
my
and she was
brain
like, "Hey,
blew.
y'all."
It really kind of blew my brain. I was like, wait a minute, this woman's voice who I grew up on was suddenly
Because
this.
in the film, she's
But that's
got
not
almost
the
like
film,
a Romanian
obviously.
accent.
Yeah,
It's very
totally.
gypsy-like.
She looks
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, and
it's-
then when you see the actual footage of,
Yeah, it's very
the raw
strange.
footage, she's just like, she's from Studio
So
City.
it takes imagination to get through it, obviously.
So I guess the question is, are you going to try to preserve that cut that's screening like as best as you can? Or would it be like Clive Barker's version where maybe you would redub that girl's voice so that it's consistent the whole way through? Or is this stuff you guys are still trying to figure out?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even started yet. I mean, we are going to do a new high def transfer of the original film, and then, we'll do what can be done to the rough footage to try and make it less jarring.
Because that's the only stuff you got. That's some of that. That's the only stuff that
there's
exists.
no film. The film is gone. I mean, that's the thing that fans don't understand most of the time, is that studios never kept the daily footage, raw footage, just threw it away. And, it's only certain filmmakers that have held on to things, that have made some films able to be restored. But, if you try and find all that, holy grail footage of all the Friday the 13th movies, it just doesn't exist anymore. And that's why, on the latter releases of the series, it was all VHS tapes, and
Friday 7 being the one that it's just like that weird VHS footage of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that exists. So, we felt the Cabal Cut was such a fan favorite that it was worth going and acquiring it. And, we're going to do everything that we can to make it look and sound fantastic.
Would you release the normal cut as well on it?
I don't think we're going to be able to do that, unfortunately. Yeah.
Is that a rights issue?
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But, again, supporting the Cabal Cut, we'll have Clive Barker on board.
Yeah.
Just to have him being involved in the project and photographs and just things, we're having things.
It's going to be a pretty awesome release.
Yeah.
Anybody
from him,
who's a
I
Clive
imagine.
Barker fan I think will want to have this, even if your footage, it'll be like a Clive Barker stamped thing. Like, it's like, okay, I'm a fan of Clive Barker. I just need to have this. You know what I mean? That's
I'm
how
sure
we're
he'll give up
envisioning it.
a lot of stuff, a lot of great stuff for it.
The most remarkable thing would be for me for that, because we were at the screening that he introed. The
The
most
Fango
remarkable would be
held
a
a
commentary.
screening.
And I'm not someone who watches all commentaries, but that would be because he could talk his way through this thing that is rough at times.
That's what I think would be.
that would be
that's
cool.
Well, like I said,
he's going to be completely
He'll be
involved
into
in the
it, yeah.
release. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fango hosted a couple screenings around the country because we're so tight with Clive, and he came to the one in Los Angeles. But that was the most interesting part, was just listening to him give an intro to it and talk about the history behind it and why so much of it ended up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
So it was that was the most fascinating part.
It was hard for me because I was one of the kids who grew up. I actually love it. Love that cut. And so because I didn't know anything else existed. So I had nothing to compare it to, and it was only now that I saw it that I had to start thinking about it. But I grew up thinking that was one of my favorite monster movies, one of my favorite horror movies I'd ever seen. And so when they start saying, "Oh, we had to put way more of Cronenberg," and I was really kind of shocked. Like, oh, I never saw it the way he sees it, the way he feels like it was brutalized as a young person. I didn't see it. I already was on the side of the monsters, and
he explained at the screening in Los Angeles that he always felt like the monsters were not the victims that he wanted them to be, that they were still monsters in the theatrical release. And I never
always
saw
thought
it
they
that
were
way.
victims.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I really did empathize with them.
Now,
it'd be interesting.
I wonder if some fans will be disappointed when they see the Cabal Cut, because it's kind of been built up. But
fans are disappointed with something wrong on a cover. They're gonna.
I know.
That is a good point.
It's gonna be brutal.
I mean, think about it. Like the Superman 2, the Donner cut.
Right.
They have fans of that one, and there were detractors from that one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that anytime you have
everyone has their favorite Blade Runner cut.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that it exists, and it's amazing that the Cabal Cut will come out.
Yeah.
At all.
And there's lots of really interesting stuff about it. It was a really different film. And I think that for people who are just interested in film,
it's definitely a tent pole for 2014 for sure.
That's cool.
Nice.
What of the most recent stuff that's on queue are you most excited about? I mean, you've got Night of the Comet.
Night of the Comet.
Witchboard, guys.
Elric has brought it up several times in the last couple of episodes because you love the characters.
Because I hadn't seen it in a while, and when we rediscovered it, and we've talked about this a few times, but that feeling of falling in love with characters rather than just like, I wouldn't mind seeing that person die, or I don't really like. That's a film where just those two girls are like two of the loveliest things you'll ever see. You love their spirit, you love their kind of, and so you want to see them live and good things happen. And it's a really well-made film. I mean, downtown LA, like that is pretty remarkable.
My husband and Elric screened it together at some point, and they both came home glowing. It was the
they were
weirdest
good.
thing. I was like, what are you guys
It was
doing
16 millimeter
tonight?
print, and it was just, it felt like a special film, like one of those ones that just doesn't easily fit in a genre. It's between a bunch of different genres.
It's definitely it's not, you can't pigeonhole it into one. Cliff had some great extras to bring to the table.
It's a great disc. There's 3 audio commentaries.
Wow.
And the one with Catherine Mary Stewart and Kelly Maroney is just great.
Yeah.
The director, I don't know much about him.
Tom Eberhard?
Yeah, what other stuff had he done?
He did Soul Survivor, which Code Red put out.
Yeah, I remember that one. Oh, I didn't realize he did that.
He did something else. His commentary is really good as well.
Another
good
LA
very
movie
funny.
that might, I'm curious if you know where the rights are, but that reminds me of not the beautiful spirit of it, but similar styles. What's the one with Anthony Edwards and
Miracle Mile?
Yeah, Miracle Mile.
I knew you were going to say that. The minute you said that, I knew.
It's just one of those movies.
Because it has that same Los Angeles Baron, late 80s type of thing. I think that's an MGM title, is it not?
Yeah, the Gar Group has it.
Oh, okay.
Not enough people have seen that. That's a film that's...
Know that one.
But Night of the Comet is a special film, and I think people will be really... I hope that one does really great.
We do too.
I am so excited about Witchboard.
Yeah,
that was
that's
one of my
great.
favorite films when I was a kid, and I used to watch it over and over. And I thought that Tawny Katane was the most beautiful person in the world, and I wanted to look like her.
She has red hair, and you have red hair. I can't imagine.
There was not a lot of redheads to emulate at the time period. But yeah, she was like a redhead, beautiful woman. So she was just one that I was like, I hope I grow up and look like that. But no, and the film itself was just amazing, and I love that one.
And 2's good too. Like 2's really fun.
2 is not bad.
Yeah, I always remember being surprised.
I remember
that
the
New
cover.
transfer, aren't we?
We just started the transfer today of
New
Witchboard.
Blu-ray high def
High def
transfer.
with
You
Patch
guys
from
should
Days of Our
look
Lives.
in.
Yeah,
That's all I remember.
Yes.
I used to watch Days of Our Lives with Patch, and I was
That's
like,
so funny.
he's in Witchboard too.
Yes.
You should look into Witchboard too. Yeah.
Well, the Witchboard 2 is already out.
Oh,
That's
okay.
out. It came out before ours through Olive.
Olive film.
Olive
weird.
releasing. In fact, they just released it this month, I think, or soon. It's coming up.
I imagine Kevin Tenney will be involved.
Oh, yes.
Because
Oh, yes.
he's pretty vocal.
That's
online
the
and
great
stuff.
thing, is that Kevin Tenney being involved in both that and Night of the Demons is a real win for us, because we're just getting started on the features, but he has relationships with a lot of cast and crew, and that's just going to make those releases really stand out. Yeah.
I'd say, looking at this list, the one that I think a lot of people would be jazzing about would be Darkman.
Darkman.
Because
Darkman.
Darkman's just a film that should have been huge.
Well, Darkman,
There's something about it.
Darkman got moved into February. We can't say anything totally about the extras, but if it all comes through the way that we wanted to come through, it should be a real winner of a release.
Like we said on the website, I think is
that's
that
fine.
we moved the release date for some people's schedules.
Cool.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Assault on Precinct 13. You need an interview with the girl with the ice cream cone that gets her head blown off at the beginning.
Kim Richards.
Yep.
We didn't get it. It's already
She's
out.
a real housewife now.
Oh, really?
You didn't know that?
I didn't.
Oh, yes.
She does Pilates at the place next to
Are you serious?
Yeah. That's who, yeah.
I have
100%.
See, when I look at her, I think
gonna
of Escape
stalk
from
her
Witch
now.
Mountain.
Yeah, Escape from Witch Mountain. She's the
it's
redhead.
Escape from Witch
Yeah,
Mountain.
she's-
But
yeah.
yes.
I've seen her twice outside there. That's funny.
Yeah,
I'm
she's-
going
I
to
didn't
have
know
to
she was
stalk her now.
not
Be
on the
like,
disc.
"You're the little
She's
girl."
not on the disc, but the disc has some good stuff. We got an interview with Nancy Loomis from Halloween and the Fog and John Carpenter films, and she played. What was she in that film? She played in the film, but she was also the production.
She was costume. Yeah,
Oh.
did costumes.
Yeah,
We have new commentary with Tommy Lee Wallace, which is great,
Mm-hmm.
and new interview with his name escapes me now. Austin Stoker.
Austin Stoker.
Austin
yeah.
Stoker.
It's a fun disc.
Very
At this
got
point,
our
I mean, at this point in the year, are there any more titles that you are going to announce, or is your
for
slate
2014 or 2013? We're done.
Right.
There's
Okay.
nothing more coming out for this year. As far as upcoming title announcements, we're hoping this month during this very big 31 days of Screams and Halloween promotion that we'll definitely be able to announce one, hoping to announce two, but probably no more than two in this month.
Right. Okay. And just so everybody knows, the whole 31 Days of Screams things, because you guys are doing a lot of fun, interactive kind of stuff on the website. The one thing that I'm looking for, because I sometimes I pre-order some stuff, sometimes I'm lucky enough to win it at trivia or beg Jeff for it. But I always find a way, because between Scream Factory, Death Waltz, and Fright Rags, I am going broke.
Of course.
All three of them.
We hear
just
this a lot, which
every
is
other
good.
week, it's one of you guys is putting something out. But what's exciting is every single day there is a select title that will be on sale on your website for pretty cheap.
Oh, cool.
And free shipping.
Yep.
So I'm waiting for the one or two that I don't have yet to be going for it.
It's not every single day.
Okay.
It'll be for probably about 2 or 3 weeks in October. It's called the Price is Fright sale.
Yes.
Witty.
Hey, I came up with it.
That's good.
And it's only for that 24 hours.
It's corny, but there you go. Yes. Basically, so yesterday, Halloween 2 DVD and Blu-ray went on sale for 24 hours at the lowest prices ever seen. And we looked at what Amazon does and competitors, so we could put lower, and we put on free shipping for those in the U.S.
Yep.
So in that 24 hours, get it, boom. And then today, Halloween 3 went on sale. Halloween 2 is no longer, boom. You got 24 hours to do it. We're seeing some really good numbers.
Great.
Very good numbers. I mean, today when we did Halloween 3, we had like 40 orders in like an hour that were like, I mean, it was just like, whoa, okay.
We were talking earlier about perceptions of a film changing. I mean, there's probably no bigger shift in the perception of a film than Halloween 3.
Right.
Like the love our generation now have for that film.
From when I left the office today, Halloween 3 had outsold Halloween 2 on the sale thing, which is again a testament to we hear it a lot. Some of the filmmakers that came into that shot, I'm sorry, not filmmakers, tastemakers that came into shot special interviews. We
I
asked
like
what
them
their
calling us tastemakers.
well, you guys are.
I'll take that name.
We asked what some of their favorite Scream Factory titles were, and 2 of them cited Halloween 3. You know, and
And a lot of filmmakers
What'd
too.
you say,
I
Rob?
think,
I think I mentioned Halloween 2 and 3. I
think you
think. I
did.
can't remember.
I
said
think
the
you said
Vincent
Psycho.
Price collection.
And of course, I'm biased. Of course,
yeah.
I had to say the Psycho movies.
I said the Vincent
But,
Price collection because it's got Witchfinder General on it, but it's
Yeah,
also
that's
got
on
the
that one,
classic Vincent Price ones on it. Definitely
It's a
one of
good
my
one.
faves you guys have
Are they
released.
Blu-ray?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the Price is Fright sale is going to be good. It won't be every day, but I mean, we're getting a lot of traction for that. We also got an insane amount of day one entries for our Year of Fear contest. That's really taking off. That's where a winner will win every Scream Factory title released from November 2013 until Halloween of next year. We did this last year.
Wow.
We got such a good response. And believe me, the fan that we are sending to is almost in tears of like, God, Vincent Price is going to be my last one. I mean, he made it out like a bandit because some of the
Holy
titles
smokes.
we didn't have planned in November last time. And then we just we had such a robust schedule this year. So
That's awesome.
No pressure, but I sent him my email this morning.
Oh, you did?
And I'm not kidding. I entered this morning.
Very good.
So if you pull my name out, you better still call me. You better not go, well, that's biased. I'm turning that back. I'll donate it all to a lucky listener. Whoever out there called us the best podcast on air, I think it's BJ.
Yeah, BJ.
I think
BJ.
I'll donate it to you
Props,
if I win.
Props to BJ. And Rebekah and I came in as well as Sean Clark, Ryan Turek, Brian Collins. You guys did some video interview stuff with us, which is going to be kind of popping up throughout the month.
Yeah, you guys.
No Elric though.
No,
Yeah,
Elric.
I told you he wanted my seat. See, he was eyeing it up. He's like, "How do I get in there?"
Just plan to sabotage you.
They can see me enough.
I love Eric.
Wait a minute,
say Eric?
Wait a minute.
There we go.
Man.
So before we
I said
move
that on
on from
purpose.
Shout Factory, I have to say two things. My husband told me to tell you that The Eagle Has Landed is the greatest thing you've ever done.
Cliff is the one to thank on that one.
It's this
didn't
war
work on that
film
one.
that
but
they
you brought it in,
released,
didn't you?
and Dave has watched it probably 3 times since we got a copy.
Wow.
He has been like
I
ridiculous.
got to watch the first check disc of Saturn III, and boy,
Ooh.
yeah,
Wow.
good stuff.
Oh, Saturn 3. Yeah, what is that one? Is that I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm
That.
not
Oh,
familiar
God.
with Saturn
Sci-fi?
III.
That's
Crazy.
a science fiction film with
Yeah.
Kirk Douglas and Farrah Fawcett and Harvey Keitel.
Wow.
Yeah. 1980, very post-alien, very wacky. I mean, it's weird. It's a strange film.
I'm excited to see your Klaus Kinski commentary with Crawl Space. From the grave. It'll be even more insane.
but we do have some fun stuff on Crawl Space. We haven't announced
Crawl
the extras,
Space,
but
we have a new commentary with David Schmoller and a short film that he did called "Please Kill Mr. Kinski."
Oh,
Wow.
awesome! Now that's hot.
Yeah, and
I think he was venting.
It is
it's
a
great.
really
I've
fun
seen
little
it too.
film.
Yeah.
I can't
Scoop.
wait.
It has one of the best endings.
I love.
If you want to see, something really outrageous and kind of almost like avant-garde, like it's kind of thing people would have been making in the 70s, the ending of Crawl Space for a really grimy,
Crawl
slasher.
Space is
It's
just
it's a perverse little movie.
it is a weird movie.
Yeah.
It is.
Didn't Shout announce you guys are doing a bunch of Herzog movies too, right?
Yeah,
Is that
we're
Shout Factory?
doing 13.
Oh dear God.
13
Ner-
times.
Nosferatu will be in the Scream line.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Oh
the
my
rest,
God. All
the
Blu-rays.
rest
Wow.
are all Blu-rays.
Not all.
No, not all
Not all
Blu-rays.
Blu-rays.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
The weirdest
So-
thing about seeing Shout and Scream together was when I went to do the interview, I was reminded that you guys put out My Little Ponies.
Yes.
And then I left the office and I immediately tweeted, "Hey guys, I just left the Shout Factory office doing a thing for Scream Factory." And 2 people tweeted back, "Oh my God, they're the people who put out My Little Ponies." And it's just.
Then you went to set and there was a woman dressed in all My Little
I
Pony
was telling
clothing
him about
for
that.
real.
There was a girl
For real.
who works
On
on
our
some of
horror
our
set.
films. She was there this Saturday who is a Pegasus-sister, I think she told me.
Pegasus.
And she dresses like a pony every day. And yeah.
At least she's
So-
not a brony.
Right. I mean, it is funny because Shout Factory, I mean, you can understand where we carved a niche to focus on horror and cult because we're also putting out Transformers, My Little Pony, animated stuff, family titles, like things.
Gary
that are just,
Shandling.
Gary Shandling,
Yeah.
Steve Martin. I mean, Shout is such a potpourri of
Very eclectic.
What's the biggest
eclectic.
seller for Shout in the history of Shout title?
Is that My So-Called Life?
Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, yeah.
Some Geeks and My So-Called
My
Life.
So-Called Life,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
that was
awesome.
good. Yeah.
Would you
Very
guys
cool.
ever consider under Scream putting out a horror TV show, like something like a Friday 13th the show, or something that you went back and
There's so few good ones.
Right,
And most
right.
of them are out.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, it wouldn't
Night
be-
Gallery. and-
if you found the right thing?
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
hey, if we ever had Freddy's Nightmares, which would never happen,
Yeah.
but
Where is that?
Where is that?
What
Warner.
happens to something? And they just sit on it
Warner,
and
yeah.
let it rot. I don't know.
Sons of.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Online petition for Phrase Nightmares? I don't know.
I don't know. It's Warner. They won't care.
Yeah.
It's,
All right,
it's,
They'll
Since-
put it in the
yeah.
archive.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no.
I was saying, since we went completely backwards, why don't we go to what we've seen this week?
Yes.
Since that was usually how we start the show.
It is at the end of yours. So you're back on track. You got the ship. I think Rob
notes are
deserves a
backwards.
hand for getting the ship back, even though he settled with my ass
Who wants to go first?
with what we saw.
Yes.
Well, I'll start with the Scream Factory title I saw.
Okay.
Because it
I
was-
saw Scream Factory stuff too.
Oh, you did?
Hey,
All right, then you
we like
start.
We're
that.
just
I
gonna
watched
kiss your
Eagle
butt the
Has
entire time.
Landed.
That's all right.
Well, I saw one that everyone's going to like anyway. It wouldn't matter if you guys, according to you, the
Day of
fans
the
would
Dead.
still have. But yeah, I accidentally got lucky enough to stumble upon the Day of the Dead screening at the Egyptian 2 nights ago. And, George Romero was there. And for me, that was very a big deal for me because Creepshow is my first horror film I saw
Yeah.
at age like 5. So just even walk up to somebody, that I'm not really big on the whole convention thing where you get to see someone for 5 seconds and you don't connect. But when it's that person that started it all for you
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you shake their hand, you walk away with something even if they don't.
Of course.
And that was cool. And so I did wait in like an hour and a half line for that. It was pretty epic.
Wow.
But
You were 5 then?
I was 5.
God, I feel old.
But the screening went really well. The soundtrack was something I noticed more than I ever had because it was a party sponsored by Death Waltz Records.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
I guess I started thinking, I don't think I've thought about the score for 10 years.
It's great. It's a great
And it
score.
Actually,
really
wasn't
is
it La
phenomenal.
La Land Records?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
La
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 Land's
Land.
the
I
final.
just
That's
I was
right.
just
No,
like,
good
there's
save,
2
good
of them, and I just was like,
The weird thing is what they're saying in the Q&A. It was actually a really good Q&A. That was I hope somebody filmed it, but they were saying actually one of the things that got the most heat on its release was the soundtrack.
Wow.
And all the reviewers trashed the film anyway.
Really?
But they said they particularly went after the score and hated the score. And they
Yeah.
thought,
It's
and
got that
George
weird,
said,
Caribbean feel to it.
exactly.
Yeah.
But one of the characters is that character too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and
They
but
talk
George,
about that
definitely.
They talk about that on our disc. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the documentary I mentioned it
I haven't
last
seen
on
that
last
yet,
week's
yeah.
show. There's a feature length doc on the release. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I got to watch
Like
that now that I've
everybody's
just
in
seen
it. Yeah,
it's
and
pretty
I-
exhaustive.
And
It's-
I love Day of the Dead's still my favorite of Romero's Dead films.
It's his too. Yeah, Romero was very. He
Yeah,
said,
I love
and
it.
he's and as I saw him walk in, and the guy next to me who had interviewed him for Nightmares Red, White, and Blue, he made that film. Joe, he's like, watch, he's going to leave straight away because he never watches his own film. Sat there, watched the whole film.
Yeah.
Got up there, said first time he'd seen it in maybe 12 to 15 years, and he said still my favorite of my films, favorite of my Dead
Wow.
films. He said it holds up. It's got a lot. It's the most fun I ever had making a movie. That was the big thing. He said that the set was so fun. They all had such a good time. It was like they were in a bunker every day. They didn't see sunlight, but they all, it was a really, and it was great. They screened the Blu-ray, so watching that on a huge screen could have been a really negative experience. And I didn't once have any negative thoughts about it all. I was just sitting there going, "That's great movie." So it played really well. And hopefully people will rediscover parts of it they didn't think about before. I mean, the last 20 minutes is like pretty unparalleled for any kind of like genre filmmaking. There's a lot of talky stuff that first 30 minutes, 40
But
minutes.
I like that.
It's,
I
no,
feel
it's
like
interesting, but it's
that
very...
whole template is exactly what Walking Dead is now.
I know.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it
is.
is.
A lot of, it's I always
Well, and
thought
look who's
that.
in it. Look who's acts in the film.
Who?
The showrunner, or more or less the showrunner for Walking Dead now. What's his name? The other biggest effects guy, the guy who does all
Nick
that.
Terra?
Nick Terra.
Yeah,
Nick
yeah.
Terra acts in it, and he was also Savini's
I didn't know he, like,
assistant.
acted
He's
in it.
assistant in it.
No, he
Yeah.
acts in it, and he was talking
Yeah.
about he was kind of forced acting. He wasn't really an actor, but like he was on stage too. He showed up unannounced, and I'm looking up at the stage, going, "Yeah, this is like a template, like for everything of the tone. Not
Yeah,
the
of
other two
course.
films, just that one.
That one. Yeah, totally.
Totally, yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. I'm glad. I haven't seen the disc yet, so
It's great.
Have to
I
see
mean, I only skimmed. I was going to go to that screening and I ended up not going, but I only skimmed it just to see the transfer. And again, it's my favorite. I kept getting drawn into each scene as I stopped because there's just something about it. There's some kind of vibe that is not as prominent in all the other Romero movies. And I think his stuff ages really well. I know a lot of people give Land of the Dead shit, but like every time I
love
see
Land
it,
of the Dead.
I didn't think Land of the Dead was
I kind
bad.
of dig it more
It
and
was
more.
I'll
Every
tell
time
you
I go back
one
to
good
it.
thing
It
he
was
said
very
about
allegorical.
that. He might say this on another thing. He said somebody asked him about the racial thing that he added to his films. He said the first one's totally accidental.
Right.
He got a lot of praise for doing something that really he just cast the best actor for the role, which is still
Right, yeah.
You still have to be impressive and think outside the box to even do that.
Right.
So a lot of the stuff he said he got was unwarranted. So he did it on purpose the second time because he liked that feeling. He liked what he was that progression. He said when Land of the Dead happened, though, he said the interesting thing about working with studio is the lead character was written to be Black African American,
Right.
and the studio said absolutely not. This will not sell a single unit in Europe.
Wow.
You will never sell in Europe, and they forced him. So Simon Baker's only in that movie, and Simon Baker's the weakest part about that movie. Like if that film had, and nothing against him, it just wasn't to me like the right lead for that film. And so he said, so subversively, I made the black guy the zombie. But I thought that was really interesting
Interesting.
because he had a lot more control over those first three films, and a little less when he went
That's
Canada
true.
and made a studio film. You know, so
I like Diary of the Dead a lot. I thought
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
a great twist.
I still haven't seen the last
You don't
one.
like
I
it?
have a tough time with Diary.
Yeah.
And Survival's all right.
I didn't see Survival.
If you take all
I
the
didn't see
zombie
that.
stuff out of Survival, it'd be a cool movie.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just
That's
looked a
exactly
little-
what it is he, like, George wants to make other movies, but he won't get them financed unless he puts zombies in them. So
Right.
Survival of the Dead is like the movie he wants to make, and he just had to throw zombies
See,
in there
but my
somewhere.
favorite George movies are the ones without zombies. And I know that there are fans out there that are like groaning that I said
I
that.
agree
but
with
I
you.
love Martin. It's
Yeah, of course.
amazing. And I've said it on the show many times before. Season of the Witch, I absolutely love. I think it's
and
amazing.
You guys got Night Riders coming out, right?
Yeah.
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 Woo, I love Night Riders.
That'd be cool.
great.
That's one a
Great,
lot of people
Savini and a
have to
cod piece.
rediscover.
Yeah.
I think a lot
It's
of people
not
see
on the
that when they're
screen
kids and
line
they're like,
because there's
"What?"
no horror elements or
Yeah.
anything, but we'll promote it
Savini
in
and a
there.
cod
And
piece.
It's so funny because the high
Yeah.
def transfer is so great that you can see how chintzy all the costumes are. It's just, it really sort of takes you out of the movie because you can tell they're all plastic. you
That's
know?
funny.
Well, I saw a couple of quick things I want to throw out there. In terms of Scream Factory stuff, I'm working my way through the Amityville box set, which just came out, and I revisited Amityville 2, which
That's the incesty
Remember we talked
one.
about that?
Yeah.
Oh my
That is.
god!
With the punchy dad.
I vaguely remembered it,
Yeah.
but like it's one of the most fucked up movies ever made.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
The second
whole
half of it
brother
is
sister
just-
photograph
Oh
scene.
god!
So creepy.
There's
Yeah.
like incest, and then it becomes like an exorcism movie. But in the third act, it's just.
Didn't we talk about it last time you were here, where I was like, you get to that point where you feel like the movie's about to end, you go, okay, it's about to end, and then suddenly
then
a
there's a
whole
whole
other
nother
movie
movie.
begins,
Yeah.
and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't
interesting,
know.
though.
I didn't know anything about it, and I thought it was kind of crazy and had all this crazy shit on it. And then I go to the features and see there's an interview with the director who speaks no English, and I'm like, of course he's an Italian. Italian directed this movie.
Right.
Makes
Well,
total
he's-
sense.
He passed away too.
He did, yeah.
Hmm.
So Amityville 2's just and people were tweeting at me like Brian Collins and Ryan Turek being like, that's the definitive and best Amityville movie.
Yeah, Ryan
course Brian Collin
Turek
thinks
really
so.
loves
Fan.
that one. In fact, I remember distinctly him requesting that on the Scream Factory Facebook page long time ago. And I
Wow.
was like, and I think I remember telling him in person, we're getting that one. Like,
Nice.
you know,
Well,
like,
we
yeah.
were so lucky that David Gregory had filmed an interview with him before he passed away, and he had been holding on to it. So we got
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And also with the Vincent Price collection, he was such a fan of Dr. Phibes that he did a commentary with the director before he passed away too.
Oh, wow.
So that's on the disc as well. So
That's cool.
Were they
Yeah.
done in England?
yeah,
Oh, that's why.
I think so.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a real film lover. I mean,
yeah. David's
great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
since you
helped out
just
quite a bit.
since you brought up Vincent Price, the collection, what some of the features on that? Did you look over any of it, Rebecca?
I know them all. It's Mask of the Red Death, Pit and the Pendulum. Tell me if I'm getting any of these wrong. Witchfinder General,
Haunted Palace.
Haunted Palace, and was the last one.
Follow the House
Pit
of
and the
Usher.
Pendulum?
Usher. I said Pit.
Oh, you did.
And
Dr.
then,
Phibes.
yeah,
And,
and Phibes. Yeah.
Vibes.
Is there somebody doing commentary as Vincent Price? I don't know if I misread
Yes.
that. Okay, so what's the story with that?
Wow,
That's kind of
I
amazing.
didn't even listen to the commentary on those.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Lucy
Oh.
Chase Williams, who wrote a book about Vincent Price, knew this guy who does this pretty amazing Vincent Price.
Imitation?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And he does parts of the commentary in Vincent's voice, and it's
Oh my
pretty
gosh,
wild.
I have to go home and
Yeah.
listen to that.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
it's
that's
already
crazy.
cool enough that we had the footage of Vincent Price himself introing the film.
Yeah,
Yeah, where'd
That's
that come from?
amazing.
It's thankfully from PBS had him introduce 12 movies,
Oh, wow.
and they shot this introduction and an outro on each one of the films. So those are on the titles where they existed.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, it's like that was pretty amazing
Yeah.
to
Wow.
get that.
Do you have a favorite?
Because when you announced it, it's like, oh, I wonder what kind of features they can do
Right,
with that
for
when
older
he's
films,
gone.
right.
But then I saw your list, and I'm like, holy crap, they really
We had a 45-minute interview with his daughter. I mean, and
Yeah.
it covers a lot of
Wow.
ground.
Yeah.
I mean, it's some really good stuff.
I've read some
It's
good
good.
interviews with Corman and Nicholas Roeg talking about the shooting of Mask of the Red Death, because that's one of the best looking films I've ever seen in my whole life of cinematography. It's just gorgeous. And Corman said the big difference was because of more of a British crew was that they would sit and have tea have long breaks compared to what he was used to doing. But the artistry in that film is just like kind of incredible. I'd love to hear Nick Rogue talk about that film. I've never heard him really mention it much, but
I always love Fall of the House of Usher. I actually gave a lecture a couple of years ago at a number of universities describing it as the first torture film. Because it really is, because in it, it's all about torturing Vincent Price. But a lot of those films where he gets sensitive hearing and his eyes get sensitive and, his smell gets sensitive. And then the rest of the film is just about exposing him to these different senses that he's now sensitive to.
Even the Tingler, in a sense.
Yeah, even the Tingler. Yeah.
Speaking of Vincent Price, I know Jeff got this too. I just got House of Wax 3D.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I just bought it.
And
I haven't watched it because I don't have a 3D TV.
I watched a few seconds in 3D. It looks awesome. Yeah.
Made by a one-eyed director who could not see
I
it in
know.
3D.
Yes.
I saw it in the theater.
And who also directed Where the Boys Are 84. Just
cool.
trivia.
Really?
Yes.
There's a documentary is being made on him, a really in-depth one
connection
by
films.
someone we all know, and it looks really good. It's like a really loving portrait of him.
Wow.
It looks really interesting.
All right. What else did everybody see?
Okay, so I have a list. So I'll start with the basic ones. So I'm a big fan of Rose Red. So I decided this week to watch Diary of Alan Rimbauer, which is supposed to be the prequel to Rose Red. And I didn't make it through it, but I'd heard it was really good.
That good, huh?
I'm suddenly like, oh my gosh, it was like watching like a really boring show on PBS where it was very Victorian because it was the prequel to Rose Red. But I didn't make it through it. I watched Haunting of Helena, which is a new one out from Guillaume Vivendi, which was actually awesome plot, awesome concept. Way too digitized. It was set up similarly like Mama to me, where I loved the concept. I swear, if they had done Haunting of Helena and just done it with less digitization and actually have done out the effects, it would have been a major studio picture. So it was awesome.
I think that's on
concept.
Netflix streaming.
It is. It's in
Redbox
Redbox right now. And I highly recommend checking it out. It's just be prepared because every cool thing that happens in that film. And you could tell that at points they got like greedy with the effects because there are points when bees arrive, like swarms of bees. Nothing to do with the film. It was just like some guy like, I can make a swarm of bees. Oh, let's use that in the second act. And nothing to do with the film. So, but I love the concept of it. Such a cool ghost story. So I recommend it, but watch with caution. And then the big one that I watched this week was I watched Curse of Chucky, the new Chucky movie.
Oh, there we go.
So my report on that, I was really
Spoiler-free
glad.
report, by the way.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking forward to seeing
I'll
that.
give it spoiler free.
I'm so sad. I've already seen like one or two spoilers online. That that's what I hate about the freaking internet.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything
oh.
about it. I'm probably going to rent it, but I'm curious.
I will say the first two acts, I love Scary Chucky because it really is. It's like Chucky fresh.
Right.
Yeah.
It completely
Old Victorian, right? Like the idea is setting it in an old house in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. It's
trying
very
to be like
gothic.
a Victorian Gothic.
It's a family, but it's a very disjointed, dysfunctional family where they all think somebody else is doing something else. There's a woman in a wheelchair, very, very gothic in this old cavernous house. And she won't leave. She's scared to leave the house. So yeah, it's gothic. And then you put Chucky in it, and it's Chucky without any background knowledge. So it's just a doll is given to the child, and then crazy shit starts happening around the house. The third act for me was where it fell apart because, and this isn't a spoiler, I will say, they start trying to relate it to the prior films and making it connect to the prior films.
That's what I heard.
And then they're suddenly trying to explain, how he got married to Jennifer Tilly. And then
That's the spoiler. That's the spoiler. Don't say that.
okay, I won't go further. But I was just like, if you
It's
just...
a bummer that they went
Yeah.
there.
I will be
If I
taking
had
it off
cut
my
it-
Redbox list because of that. Just because, honestly,
don't.
no, because I thought it was just going to be a fresh interpretation.
That's what I thought
See,
too.
if
I didn't
it
think that they
happened,
were
and
going
that's
to.
what it was for the first hour, was just a completely fresh
Yeah, but I
interpretation.
don't care
and it was
about
scary
the,
as hell for the first hour. And then it was my husband kept doing this, like he always puts a fake cigar in his mouth and does his studio voice where he's like, but how did Jennifer Tilly come into play? And he just, it's suddenly like the studio owner got involved third act and was like, we need to explain everything that just happened in terms of the whole, universe of
Unless it's
Chucky.
Dawn. I mean, we interviewed Dawn.
I think think it's
And
a
the
Don
fact
thing.
that Don's been there from the start, he might have felt the pressure to relate it back because he's been there since the start. Who knows?
I don't know, because the first hour,
Maybe
there's
the
none of
studio
that.
made him do it.
She's uncredited. That's what pisses me off.
Oh no, she is, which is weird. That was the other thing, is she's not in the opening credits, but as soon as the film ends, her name appears and it takes up the entire screen.
Yeah, but you
and
have
then
to
it goes
see
to
the movie to
rolling
know
credit.
that. And that's what I'm saying is like, I'm annoyed that I know she's in the movie.
But it felt,
because when I saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, cool. It looks like a remake of the original.
Yeah.
And then I think somebody from Bloody Disgusting is like, no, it's definitely a sequel.
It's totally
And I'm
a
like, well,
sequel.
I know exactly what you mean when you say that, jerk. So
Yeah.
And
I know who appears in it then.
Brad Dourif's
without
daughter is
giving-
in it, right?
Yeah.
She's the lead. That's
without giving away any of the other like weird tie-ins and connections and things that they try to do, I will just say it is the first hour. Stop it after that. Otherwise, it's a
must know how it
sequel.
ends.
I do want to see it. I'm curious, but yeah, that's a shame that it would have been really fun to see a standalone film like that. And
You know what I think is cool about it though is I like that because it comes out the same day as the box set with all of them, and I kind of like the idea like, oh, I'm going to buy a Child's Play box set and it's going to have a new movie.
Yeah,
in
that's
it.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
I
cool.
think it's the first time that you've ever bought imagine you bought a new Friday 13th box set and there was a new Friday 13th.
Right,
You'd be like,
yeah.
oh,
That's
shit.
kinda
Imagine
cool.
if that was a found footage Friday.
And I will
Did you guys
say-
hear about that today?
Oh,
I mean,
heard
I know
about
we're
that.
jumping into news, but I just heard that they're trying
That's
to.
a fact.
They want found
I-
footage to be,
I-
and that just kills me.
I don't know why
That
they won't
kills
let go
me.
of that. It's Platinum Dunes. So
Yeah, but
no
That's
surprise at
Snow.
all.
Yeah,
Everyone
that's
wants
not
to
a
see
surprise.
Jason and Snow.
There you
Just
go.
listen to us. We want
Jason
Jason
and
and Snow.
Snow. We've all
There's
been
no one on
saying
earth who
that.
doesn't want to see Jason and Snow.
But I gotta admit, the funniest thing was
want him in space
Shannon and
again.
Yeah.
Shannon and Swift, the guys that wrote
the
the last one, and then Freddy versus Jason, and then the Friday the 13th remake with Platinum Dunes. They were rumored to be writing the sequel, this new one for whatever. One of them tweeted today like, "Hey, I'm working on my Halloween costume. Is this hip and modern?" And it's a picture of him wearing a Jason mask, but he like scotch taped like a webcam to his forehead.
Nice.
And I'm like, wow, I guess they don't approve either.
Yeah, that's funny.
Wow.
That's interesting. That will be interesting to see where it goes. I did see the new Halloween transfer. I don't know. Have you looked at it yet? I love the
Looks
artwork.
great. It looks
Love the
amazing.
cover. Love the cover. I think
Yeah,
that's
and it's weird.
beautiful.
People are complaining that the new Halloween is that it's like not as bright as previous versions. Like but
people
that's
seem
it's
to me.
Dean Cundy's, like he supervised it.
Yeah.
And I watched it a little bit last night. I hit all the lights off and I just watched it. It looked beautiful.
See, I haven't bought this one yet because I feel like they put out a new Halloween every year.
Well, no,
This
they
is-
do. But this is
the
Dean
one,
Cundy
no.
approved, and
Yeah.
everyone at this table is a fan.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
that's
funny
true.
because Cliff and I are big Halloween fans, and I think that the Dean Cundy, I bought it, and I think the Dean Cundy transfer looks fine and all. Where I have a big issue,
I know where
with
you're going.
is that Anchor Bay didn't put on the original mono soundtrack, and it's a glaring omission. I've watched Halloween every year since I was a kid on the media VHS with having an original soundtrack. And for the first time, there's a presentation without it. And it's very different. The 5.1, the 1999, 2007 releases, all that kind of stuff have always had this. And there's stinger cues that are different, thunderclaps that are louder. The Halloween fans that know what I'm talking about right here. But I can't watch this Blu-ray going forward as my Halloween go-to Blu-ray because that original soundtrack is on there. I'm surprised that Anchor Bay didn't include it.
For Assault on Precinct 13, we restored the original mono track, which had not been on the previous Blu-ray from Image because that's the way it sounded.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So you grew up on that version with the mono track. So
Yes.
is the 5.1 distracting to you?
I
Because
don't.
to me,
I,
it's just like, I hear more
the
stuff now.
the 7.1 that's on the new Blu-ray is distracting because the opening John Carpenter theme music is slightly different. The scene where Dr. Loomis and the nurse are going to the sanitarium with the rain is loud thunderclaps and more rain and stuff like that. Annie's death has weird stingers. It's not a whole lot. Most people will not notice, I guess.
Probably depending on what they grew up
But
on.
it depends
Yeah.
on how you do it. And, again, I was so disappointed. I was just like, wow, this was a simple track that could have been put into a Blu-ray.
But you know what? And I don't mean to. You said no holds barred, so I will bring this up.
No, it's
this
fine.
is probably because you're a fan. This is probably why you guys sometimes get the crazy fan backlash on anything you do, because everyone takes everything so personally because they're all focused on something.
I will say this. It sounds like I'm taking it personally,
Right.
But it is just something that, like, okay, say if Halloween was with Cliff and I, we would never
You would have
have.
chased
We
it.
would. Well, we would. That just would have been an
Well,
automatic.
we heard the same things with our transfer of the fog, because Dean came in and approved that as well. And Dean showed up a couple hours late, and we had started working on it. And I'll probably get a lot of hate mail for this, but the movie was just too bright. I mean, it's at night. There's the scene with the first death when those guys are on the boat in the middle of the ocean, and it's like, where's all this light coming from?
Right.
So we darkened it and made it a lot bluer and so forth. And when he came in, and we said, well, you want to take a look at what we've done so far? And he looked at it and he goes, that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted it to look like.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
like, because it made sense.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You're
It's
going with your gut.
nighttime,
Yeah.
and this is the way it should look. But people don't like it, our transfer too. So, you knew it was
That's
going
how
to
it's
be that.
supposed to look.
You
Well, with
knew
the
it was-
visual, I want to say the one thing, because I totally get what you're saying. Probably because I didn't grow up on that version, I didn't even think about the sound. The visuals, what I'll say, this is the first time I've seen any film that I've seen a million times before and had one new reading completely. And I'm sure you guys have already seen this a million times, but the progression of time in it, I can't be scared by this movie anymore. You've seen it a million times.
Right.
The progression of the use of light as it changes to darkness is one of the finest things I've ever seen in movie making. And I've never really thought about it until I watched this version. And once it gets into the car and you're looking at the sun going down between trees, and you're like, "Holy shit! This is the encroaching pressure. Is darkness coming?" And once it goes to dark, it's almost like a noir. It's like pools of light.
I've
with
never
Michael
noticed
Myers.
that.
It's stunning, and that's the one thing about this transfer that it was super impressive. Was I really felt I could see it. Though I could understand from the DP's perspective why this is a special print, but I've always liked it. It's definitely way less orange than. I mean, it's much. It's bluer and cleaner, but it's
That Max version is terrible.
And what Dean's point is that, and people don't realize, is nobody brings in the DP when they do the first transfer. So he said, you've grown up with this other version, but that's not the way it was supposed to look.
Right.
And nobody asked us to come in and sit in to do it.
Right.
So that's why you've looked at that version before, but this is the way that it was intended to look.
Well, we've talked about and you'll love this, Rob, because I'm about to say it. We never go a show without me mentioning possession.
Well, there it is.
There it is.
But
Got
the
it.
reason why what you're saying is really fascinating is because that is this blue film, and everyone's remembered as blue. And I just saw the files of the British release, and it's now completely brown and completely color corrected to the point where it looks like real life, and everyone's outraged because no one. But that's how it was shot.
Yeah.
I will say,
And so it's an
that-
artificial effect
Right.
that we've grown up on.
Yeah, when I first saw Possession, I saw it as a VHS tape when I was a kid. And I always thought you weren't supposed to see the monster because on the VHS tape I had, it was very dark. And you just saw this kind of, because he humps a lot, you just kind of saw this humping form that you could tell had a tail and some tentacles, but it was very obscured and dark. And it wasn't until I went with Elric and saw the 35 millimeter version, I was like, you're supposed to see the monster? We had like the crappiest VHS when I was a kid then, because I'd grown up thinking you
But
were
there are
never
major
supposed to see it.
psychological effects of color. Color. And so if you've grown up with this thing that's blue, like blue as blue, like a blue filter was put in front, and then suddenly it looks normal, like, I wonder if I'll even like it now. Even though that's like maybe I'll have a totally different reading of this movie. You know?
I mean, the studio's never included,
Yeah.
whether it's a DP or a director, in for the first transfer. And,
interesting.
it's only somebody like Spielberg who can, say, no, I'm going to be there and I'm going to prove it. But a lot of directors don't have that ability. So,
It's great that you guys are doing that. I mean, it's great that you did that with The Fog. I mean, I think it's really kind of exciting to get films, like especially if films have been lost a little in translation.
Yeah,
I think that's really neat.
And we just did a new transfer of a movie that we haven't announced yet, and we went back to the original camera negative, and it actually looks even better than our last DVD release, and it's huge difference. But
Wow.
Oh.
Well, before we head into news, have you guys seen anything recently you want to talk about or mention?
I saw VHS 2.
Did you like it?
Well,
He liked it, I didn't.
I love the first one.
Me too. I kind of
but,
like the first one.
You know, Gareth Evans, piece was what made the
Chemo
film
to
to me.
Giganto.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I remembered. I kept saying, "Oh, Rob, to me that was the best found footage ever made." That story.
That was.
Had that been the
was
feature,
amazing.
it would be a great feature.
Yeah.
And I also liked.
He saved the film for me.
Yeah, there's one other that was fun, but not. I think it was the guy Jason Eisenberger.
Oh,
This was
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
But
The alien one, right?
the first one's
I
kind of
kinda like
bad.
that one.
The first one's kind of a bad, and the wraparound's as bad as the first.
Yeah, I have a tough time with that one. Jeff, anything?
Before I get into mine, I have a correction to make. The director of House of Wax did
No,
not
he
do Where the
didn't do
Boy
it.
Is
I
Are.
wasn't- I wasn't going to say anything. but
Hi Averback
Yes.
did a House of Wax ripoff called Chamber of Horrors, and I got it confused. So I was like, I went on my phone really quickly. I'm like, I think I got that one wrong. And
You're
I'm like,
smart.
yeah,
You get on
I
yourself
do.
before
He knows
haters
what-
can get.
Yeah.
He was long dead before where
I know. I was
Where's
just
Boy?
I just want to make that correction because I know somebody will be like, oh,
Don't
no,
send us
that
an
wasn't
email,
it.
boys.
And his name was Andre Tatoff. I don't think any of us actually mentioned his name. Tatoff.
Andre
It is
Tatoff.
Tatoff. It is
Go look
Andre
up
Tatoff. I saw Insidious 2 on Friday. I waited until sort of the opening weekend stuff and everything like that. I was really looking forward to seeing this. I really loved the first one. I was
Right.
scared shitless by it, hands in front of my face, and I'm not affected by horror films like that anymore. And when I saw Insidious 1 a couple of years ago, I just couldn't believe that movies could be made like that anymore. I knew that Insidious 2 couldn't live up to that, but I went in just kind of going, all right, let's see what we got here. I thought it was decent.
That was the best delivery.
I thought it was... Did you guys see it at all?
Yeah.
I'm the only one who hasn't.
I'm not going to spoil anything of that. There were some scares, but not nearly as enough as the first one. There was a lot of explaining.
Yes.
Which, again, this is the problem sometimes with sequels is like, when you saw the first Halloween, let's go back to that, it was just, oh my God, here's this guy stalking these 3 girls. There's no reason. Jesus, this is scary.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you go into Halloween 2. Oh, he's his sister and all this
Right.
stuff. Insidious 2 has that same kind of, all right, I didn't, okay, we find out who the old creepy lady is.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Yeah.
well, it's not her sister.
Some of the twists
No,
are
it's not her
clever.
sister. Some
are actually clever. Like you go, oh, that's impressive.
Right.
And others you go, okay,
there
you're
was
just
some
throwing.
But
there
it
was
was a
some
lot of expo.
Yeah.
bending of time
Right,
and stuff
right.
that again's not spoiling that I thought was clever. This doesn't. No, it doesn't. It might spoil. I thought the way that they used Lynn Shay, again, a movie
Yes.
who was, I can't say that because it's spoiling the first one for those who haven't seen it. But
Oh, you can.
Did
At this
they
point,
dub
so
you can
her
like,
voice?
spoil
yes,
older
they
movies.
did.
Okay.
So having Lynn Shay being killed at the end of the first film, you're like, well, she's credited in the second film. How are they going to use her? And so when you see how they use her, it all makes sense.
It's not her sister.
It's not her
It's
sister.
not her sister.
She
has an iPad.
They dub her voice. They dub her voice into a younger version of herself in the movie at one point, and
That
it's
was weird.
highly ridiculous.
Yes.
That was
It's
the worst thing.
completely
It's the opening
ridiculous.
scene. No, it's the opening scene of the
it
movie.
doesn't.
It's
there's no
weird.
spoiler. But it
Dave
was.
and I went to the theater,
That's
and he
loud.
had a
Of
couple
them.
drinks at the time, and as soon as she started talking, he laughed out loud. And I was like, Dave.
I laughed out loud because you're looking at this woman who's in her mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, and she has Lynn Shay's rather old woman
Yeah.
kind of
It was a strange
voice.
choice.
And I was just like,
And
that is.
but it still had that kind of like old woman quirkiness
Yes.
that she has along
but
with
and the
it.
actress was trying to do the quirkiness, which she did a good job at doing it. It was, again, it was.
All right.
Yeah.
Awkward.
Did you think it was a movie with
I
lots
can't
of
wait to
movies?
see
Like
it.
it starts with Stepfather, moves to
I love that.
Poltergeist.
I was thinking
it felt like
there were a lot of homage.
Yeah.
Like Insidious was an homage to so many haunted
Right.
house movies. This added more homages to other movies, The Shining being one,
Shining
and
for sure,
that's you know where I'm going with that one. But I just kind of left the same way that I felt I left The Conjuring, and was like, okay.
I thought it was a lot of fun, but I didn't. It wasn't a shade on the first one in terms, and it didn't scare me like the first
scare
one.
me.
But it had a couple scenes. There was a couple scenes where I was like, "Oh wow, that was a nicely made scene." I did like that it was a little all over the place and kind of wacky and strange, and it was kind of funny.
It did.
was kind of funny. I thought it was a fun film.
But it was. I could have rented it on Redbox.
Right.
Yeah.
I did watch World War Z for the first time.
Oh, that's right. Or I gave you shit on your Facebook because you're like, World War Z. Well, I'm like, come on, it's fine.
You will have a fan in it. Cliff loved it.
Oh, cool. I haven't seen it.
I didn't hate it.
I
But you
love your
think it's
delivery on these
boring.
reviews. It's decent.
I just, you know what? I like the opening stuff. I like some of the middle, the plane crash scene. Whatever.
I think
There's a
that's a
plane.
given.
There's a plane scene.
What? There's a plane crash?
There's a
What?
plane
They
scene.
showed it in the
that's really
trailer,
good. They showed it in the
so-
Yeah, it's a
trailer.
trailer.
There's some good set pieces, but I guess for me, I kind of felt like I've seen 28 Days Later. I've seen Fast Moving Zombies. I've seen Dawn of the Dead remake. I've seen Zombies. I've seen Apocalyptic. I've seen this. And I just
thought it was a cool
I
take
had a lot of
on
fun.
it,
But you know what? It's my argument to that. It's not even an argument, but it's like it's been almost 10 years since we've had a Dawn of the Dead or a 28 Days
Yes.
Later. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's been a long time since you thought there would be a glut of fast zombie movies after those movies, but I started thinking, and I'm like, there's not. There's those.
There
There's
was on the
20 days.
indie market, and I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
what
true.
made me feel
Market.
like it, because the
I've
indie
never-
markets were saturated with them instantly, hundreds and hundreds a
Oh,
month.
fast zombie
Yeah.
movies?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I've never seen any other
mean-
one. I mean, every independent zombie movie is always the slow movie. Like, it's the same thing.
Wasn't Quarantine fast? Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
but that doesn't count
were
because
questionable
they're remakes. Yeah, they're
zombies.
remakes.
Yeah.
Terrible remake.
But I mean,
and Wreck, I meant.
everything that
Yeah.
was like a zombie
Yeah, they were fast.
direct to DVD release that Image,
Yes.
Phase 4,
Yeah.
all of these
They're not
different
zombies.
companies, MPI, all these
There you
ones
go.
put out.
That's right.
These were all like fast moving zombie movies
Or
with
fast moving
But I-
people with
but-
viruses.
but point being is-
Just being an asshole.
I never watched those movies, and the general public never watched them. So for me, it's like it's been long enough that it's like, oh, it's kind of cool to have another fast
Just the
zombie
way
movie
they
again.
swarmed like insects
that was cool.
was very cool.
All right, I'm going to
It's-
watch that this week.
it's so hard to-
anytime I can get at least two people saying something's interesting,
I watched
check
it 2
out.
nights in a row.
Okay.
I mean, I loved it.
Wow.
Wow.
Do you have a better insight as to why it was?
Wow.
I mean, obviously, it was ridiculously expensive. Why it didn't, it underperformed.
No, it didn't underperform. I mean,
I
Well,
think-
there's no
I think
to
it's
get
great.
back to where
I think they,
it's Brad Pitt's
with
biggest movie ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
but I think
Ever.
with the
It's
production
biggest box office,
costs, I was reading something about it, I think yesterday. I think it will make a little profit with the international thing, but I don't think it.
Well, the whole thing was that they had to reshoot a bunch of the
Yeah.
The
scenes
third
in
act.
Film. Yeah.
But apparently, they're going to use that whole third act for the sequel.
It's funny. I asked myself after I made that comment, you were like, "Oh, Jeff, light it up," and I asked myself, can I be? Can modern horror films? Can I get into them? You know what I mean?
Look, we're
And
older. We've seen a lot of movies.
You
We're
know,
gonna
but then
approach
I
it differently than a
but then
12-year-old
I
kid.
saw the remake of Maniac, and I know you didn't like this, but I loved it.
I love
thought
Maniac,
the
too.
remake of Maniac was
I like it better
fantastic.
than the original.
What's the room? Those two loved it. We didn't like
I
it.
didn't.
Yeah.
I was okay
and
with
I
it.
just thought it was amazing. So it's just, I will say one thing: I will not be seeing the Carrie remake. That
Yeah.
opens on Thursday.
I wonder
That
if
was my
anyone
only.
here will watch the Carrie remake.
Have
have you
I'm
seen it
serious.
already?
I don't think
I
I
haven't
can.
seen it yet. They invited me to the press junket last Saturday, and I was shooting a film, and I
Nothing
had
looks
to
more
cancel.
depressing than whenever I see those TV spots. I
know.
can't even believe that we're seeing this.
And you know what's funny
I'd be
is I was kind of like, I don't care about remakes anymore. I'll go see whatever. I like the actors, but I haven't seen the original Carrie in years, and I just bought the Blu-ray and watched it like 2-3 days ago.
Yeah.
And I'm just watching Sissy Spacek, and I'm like, yeah, that's Carrie. Like that
Yeah,
girl that they
yeah,
cast.
that's Carrie.
Like there's something off about her that I'm like, I buy her as Carrie.
And what's weird is I don't think that the younger generations, and I only say this because of one experience. When I was in my hometown a couple of weeks ago, I was standing in the middle of the Alamo Draft House, which we have one in my hometown in the middle of nowhere, Winchester, for some reason. But
Yes.
I was standing at the Alamo Draft House in the middle of nowhere. And we were looking at all the posters, and we were there to see Riddick. But there was a poster on the wall for Carrie, and there was this group of like 14-year-olds standing over by it. And somebody was like, "What's that?" And somebody said, "Carrie. What's that?" And then they all
Of
had
course,
a conversation
yeah.
about what Carrie was. And then Dave and I were standing there, and we were suddenly like, do younger generations even know Carrie? Because
No.
it's
No,
not
they
a
don't.
film
course they
that
don't.
kind
No,
of
that's why they
endured.
remake films.
That's why they
Yeah.
remake it.
And
Yeah, it's
but
true.
I don't know if it's going to
It's
have
just
the
not
same
for us.
pull.
They just didn't make
Here's
it for
a
us,
little bit
yeah.
of trivia. We lost Carrie.
Oh.
Yeah, we tried to get it when.
Well, we had it, but MGM wanted us to do a scan of the film, and we said, "Fine, we'll do it." I mean, we want to put out Carrie, but
What does that mean? A scan of the film?
they take the film and they scan it in frame by frame into a computer. And they just didn't want to allow us access to the materials. They were so scared, that the film was so old and that it could fall apart or whatever, which wouldn't have happened. But they were so paranoid about it that they said, no, we don't.
We loved that film. It would have been great drafting. We would have given it a collector's edition and put it, and the Blu-ray.
That's why MGM wanted us to put it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Blu-ray doesn't have anything on it, really.
No.
So that's a good little
tidbit
nugget that was never. Since we're talking about Carrie, we would have loved to have put that one out. It's definitely one of our favorite films for sure.
Wow.
Anyways,
well, I'm anxious to see how it does. Carrie comes out on this Friday, isn't it?
Well,
no competition. There's no
there is
horror
no
movies.
I think it must be next week.
The sad thing
Next week.
about it was that
Gravity
they made all
Falls.
the right decisions. Up front, it's like Kimberly Pierce, fascinating choice as director.
Yeah.
Like that's a real. But then you see the film that she shot, and it doesn't look like she brought
Like
any
her.
of her
Of
the
doesn't look like
grittiness.
her.
It doesn't-
or,
it doesn't-
you know,
It looks more like the TV movie, which
Yeah.
was supposed to be more like
Absolutely.
the
it's
book.
such a shame.
it looks like a CW film.
Yeah.
I just
Oh.
honestly,
Not that bad.
Originally,
I
they
don't know.
had said some diary stuff, found footage stuff originally,
Yeah.
and that doesn't look like that made
and I
it.
love
There was
Ju-
like a huge fan backlash for that
Okay.
as soon as,
Yeah.
but again, it
Maybe
was
that
in
would
the
have been more
horror community.
unique. You know?
Interesting, yeah.
Maybe.
But I mean, if
the
this
first
film,
teaser is great. The one with like the whole aerial shot and everything. But
Can
that's
we
just a
just be
tease.
done with found footage films?
yeah, that's a good.
Please.
It's over with.
I can't not mention it because you were just talking about $200 million zombie films. I'm now holding in my hand what I thought was, and I'm not alone because
Battery!
people, this took me forever to finally watch, and we've had many people on the show tell us, yeah, you've got to watch it, Then the director started tweeting us last week saying,
Yeah.
Elric, just goddamn watch it already. Rob gave it to me. It's the best independent film I've seen, not just this year, but I think it's like one of my favorite in the last couple
called
of
The
years.
Battery?
And
The
it's probably
Battery. I
cost like
started telling you about it
$25,000.
recently.
The performances are great, but
No,
what's
it's
really
4,000.
Oh, it's
They made it for
$4,000.
$4,000.
The cool thing about it is they
Unbelievable.
make these really, really. When we talk about independent filmmaking, that can mean a lot of stuff and a lot of different budget ranges. But what's usually in common with the bad ones is they're just trying to make a film exactly like a studio, but with way less money. And they just, with the zombies, let's say they have all hundreds. In this film, they make the right choice at every economical decision. Like it's like instead of showing a horde of people, you put up blankets in your car so you don't have to look at them, and suddenly the car shaking and all that is enough because you like the characters. I felt similarly Night of the Comet in terms of the characters with these two.
You love
they're
these two guys.
Yeah, they're just interesting to watch. I think this film, it got me really excited about the possibilities of independent filmmaking, not just horror stuff, just telling good stories with very little. And with the cameras we have now, with the ability to make something really pared down, I would really, and AJ is definitely responsible for the final push of making me watch this film.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
sensational.
I'm
It's
borrowing
up
it
there now
next.
with
great.
Stoker for my best film of the year.
It's on VOD right
Yeah.
now. It's the only way you could see it.
It's like Beneath that you mentioned. I
Right.
mean, that's it was a fun movie just because of the performances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 kids in a rowboat where
Yeah.
the story isn't the fish.
Yeah.
So-
And you would love to see, what I'd love to see is this carried back into those franchises we loved, like the Friday the 13th, to go, hey, take that setup that people always like, but let's make the characters interesting. Let's make
Yeah.
them unique, and let's like a couple of them.
None of this gimmick shit with, let's make it found footage. And that
Exactly, yeah. Let's just focus back on the essentials of what a good movie in any genre would be. But that film,
if these guys can do it for $4,000, you guys have
there's
no
no
excuse.
excuse.
No
It's-
excuse.
It's really a beautiful piece of cinema, and all I wanted the second it ended. All I wanted two things: I wanted the sequel.
Yeah, me too.
From the second it ends, and
Yeah.
and then second part, I wanted him to start directing and being in Walking Dead. I mean, literally, now I want that character to walk into Walking Dead and direct it.
But if this makes money, then they'll make the sequel for $1 million.
Right.
And then,
I don't know. It didn't sound like he was going to make it.
Or they'll remake it as a studio
Well,
film.
I mean, I think I talked to Jeff about this off record, but I mean, one of the big problems with any independent film is the second you release it digitally.
Sorry. This has been our longest show so far.
Oh wow!
I came in late.
Yeah.
No, I came late.
He came in a little late.
Yeah. I don't think we
okay.
started till 8:30.
But yeah, once an independent filmmaker puts something out digitally via VOD,
It's dangerous.
it's a little bit different
Done.
for a distribution company because they kind of want to be able to put out a DVD and have digital.
Right.
Or,
yeah.
it's so it's going to be tough. I mean, I hope and pray they get a really good solid release out at some point, either Blu-ray or whatever. But
I promised myself after I watched it, because I saw it for free and on his website, it costs $7. I promised that I would go on there. In my brain, I said, I'm going to go on there and pay $7
Oh, wait,
because
he's-
this
but for
movie.
his script
He's
or
doing
something,
a
right?
soft distro on his website
yeah,
too.
it's just saying you can watch it
Wow.
like a link from him directly. And I just thought to myself, I got so much entertainment and like love out of that movie that it would be quite shitty of me to just go, oh yeah, but Rob lent it to me, it's all good. Which you do as journalists or whatever we do. But I definitely feel the need now to, or at least to tell everyone about it.
Yeah.
You know, it was really great work. Congrats, Jeremy, if you're listening.
Nice.
We really liked it.
Wow. I'm excited to watch this one now,
really
guys.
good.
All right, yeah, we've been going on forever. Sorry, guys.
I have to go to the bathroom.
It's because we're trying to stick to your schedule.
Well, if you didn't derail me, we would have been done by now.
There's some good stuff in the derailment.
There's some good stuff.
You guys are one. This is great. Thanks for making it happen.
Oh, thank you guys.
Well, very quickly, just a few quick things I wanted to mention. Number one, congratulations to Shock to Drop, Ryan Turek. They just announced that they have partnered up with a company called The Orchard. They're going to be releasing their own horror movies.
Yep.
Nice.
And one of them is Missionary, which is written and directed by Anthony DeBlasi, the guy that did Dread, and has produced a bunch of Clive Barker stuff.
Now, are they just doing acquisitions or are they doing productions
I believe
as well?
it's
At the
acquisitions.
moment, it's
There's
acquisition.
4 titles so far, and they'll be
Nice.
available for VOD and DVD
Cool.
through them. So, yeah, look it up on Shock to Drop. And I just wanted to mention, last week the guys from Cinefamily mentioned they were doing a screening of All the Boys Love Mandy Lane.
Yep.
I just found out that FEARnet is co-sponsoring it. So that's next
Awesome.
Wednesday night
Cool, I wanna see
on the
that.
9th. It's great.
So good.
I totally
great.
want to
So
see
good.
it.
Same day as
I've
our
had the UK
show.
DVD for like years.
Oh, right. I've got it
We
on
were
Blu-ray.
when I worked at Genius, that was one of our titles that we were going to put out. I mean, we're talking years ago.
Oh, I know. I
When the-
remember when you guys
yeah.
were marketing it to us, and then the whole
Yeah.
thing got pulled. But I like you. I've had
I
the
definitely wanna
UK
see that
Blu-ray
one.
for years.
Yeah. So if you're in LA, go to the Cinefamily. It's next Wednesday, October 9th.
We won't
Is
be
it
there because
after
we've
our
got some
show?
minor
We record
guests.
our show,
We have a
yeah.
little guest that week. No one big, so don't
Yeah,
even. We won't
yeah.
talk about it. We don't want to jinx it. though.
The director, Jonathan Levine, will be there. The guy that did Warm
Aw.
Bodies. The writer, actually, a lot of the this is technically their LA premiere.
Is Amber Heard going to be there?
Rumor has it.
Because I got to say,
Oh, then I'm
like,
going
she
now.
is amazing in it.
Yeah, she's really great.
She is amazing.
Yeah, again, this is, since it's never played, this is technically they're
That's
treating it
pretty
as their
crazy.
LA premiere.
That's cool.
So
Nice.
check that out if you can. And Scream Factory's on Facebook, on Twitter. Just look up
Yay.
Scream
Yep.
Factory. If you even listen to us, you probably already do. So that's totally fine.
Yeah. Totally.
And once again, I just want to thank Cliff and Jeff for taking out their
Thank you.
evening to talk to us about their titles.
Honestly,
Thank
you
you.
guys, thank you.
Always
This is
great to have
always
you.
fun coming here. It's just kind of shooting the shit. I mean, that's the good thing about this is like I kind of feel like we're just sitting on the couch or just chatting. I mean, it's just very real.
I hope you guys at home are doing the same thing, either
Yes.
drinking beers or coffee or whatever. And that's it. We got some really great shows coming up for October. I can say next week we've got Stuart Gordon coming in.
We weren't going
Wow.
to say it because we didn't want to jinx it.
Well,
right?
as long as I
Only
have Twitter, tweet
Only
it.
when Elric says it does it jinx
Does it
it.
jinx?
But at least he has a
Okay.
reason to be
Yeah.
here. Like they have, and
Yeah.
actually, let's mention it even before he comes
They
because it
launched
is
a
Yeah.
Kickstarter today.
a big Kickstarter, $375,000 they're looking for, which is a big number, but it's for a great cause. It's my favorite thing I've seen
Nevermore.
since living in LA. was
Nevermore.
that Jeffrey Combs performances.
Yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe's amazing.
He invited me, my husband, my in-laws. Jeffrey Combs gave us free tickets,
yeah,
sat
yeah.
us in
Yeah.
the front row. It was
It's
amazing.
just a great show. It's
I've
just
seen the
really-
show 4. I paid to see it 4 times.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
actual
No, it's something
stage show.
special.
So I would love to see a movie of it. And Stuart's going to come in next week and talk about it. I mean, we're all huge fans. And
Plus, I'm going to poke his brain about Dagon, which
Yeah, I
is
know you're a
still like
Dagon
one.
fan.
I'm a huge
Yeah.
Dagon fan.
And I
I'm
will
sure
talk
they'll
about From
please.
Beyond.
Yeah, and then keep
I'll plug
sticking
it.
with us. We're planning a soundtrack episode soon.
Yep.
We've got a Halloween episode coming up, so there's a lot of good stuff in October. So
And we're all going to the Goblin show.
yes, we
So
are.
we'll have to report on
It's
that.
going to be rad.
Cool.
And I will, I'll let you know how, after this, I'm going straight here to Cinefam. I'll let you know how these shows are. And
Right on.
Also on Sunday, there's one I'd highly recommend because I'm going to go on Sunday as well. Sunday night is The Being.
Oh yeah.
By,
Oh, yeah.
by the director of Blood Diner, Jackie
Jackie
Kong.
Kong.
Jackie Kong. And I've never seen The Being, but the art of The Being is so great that I'm going purely based on artwork.
Based on the
It's like
art.
the
Funny.
artwork is so gold that I'm like, if there's something giant killing things in Iowa or Idaho,
Yeah.
I'm there.
I'm going to try to make it on the. I mean, because of my schedule, I'm going to try to make it on the weekends. I can't do midnight movies.
Is she
but-
gonna
I
do
can't do
she's
midnight
gonna
movies
talk,
anymore.
right?
I would see so many of
don't
these
know.
films.
Yeah.
It's just that they're at midnight, and I hate to say it, I'm old.
I am
Yeah.
too.
I'm
I
like,
have such a struggle with it. I have to
I'm
take
like,
a nap
they're
in the
showing
afternoon.
Squirm. They're showing like some really good stuff. The
If I'm
Manatee.
going, I'm
gonna
older
see
than all of you.
I know,
Yeah.
Because
but
I have a
older
2-year-old.
than
No,
me.
but I have a 2-year-old who's going to wake me up in 4 hours when I get home, no matter what. And I'm doing tonight anyway because this movie means so much to me. I need to see this on screen.
Wow.
Because I know I'll never see it again. It will never play on screen. again.
we
could
love the
almost guarantee it.
Cinefam. We were co-sponsoring the Vincent Price. They're
That's
doing
right, yeah.
They're doing a The
Of
Price
course,
is
yeah.
Right
Yeah.
thing where they had
What
3
are
of
you
our
guys doing?
films in our. I know we just these corny puns. We 3 of our films that are in our box set are being shown there this month at matinees at least.
I can make those.
Which exactly. They've been great to co-sponsor. We did an incredible Melting Man and a Ninja 3 one with them, and they've just been wonderful to work with.
I'm calling for it now. You guys ready? This is what we're going to make this happen. I don't know what the title's going to be. A live Killer POV episode at a theater with the release of one of your films. Something that we all love and we all want to talk about.
And we could get some of the people on.
We'll do it live. We'll do it at Cinefamily or New Bev.
I like
Hey, they would love that. They would love that.
Let's do it. Just look down the schedule. We'll find the right fit.
And I will also,
could be Night of the Comet.
Since we're plugging stuff, I will say this past weekend, Elric and I shot 2 films back to back on the same day. In one day. Wow. And they will be premiering on Chalk to You Drop within the next couple of weeks.
Like short Halloween shorts. So super short, really fun, like one trick.
I think we were given like 2 minutes max.
Something.
Yeah, it was pretty regimented. But so we did them back to back on a Saturday.
Yeah, it was fun. And
long day.
I think they're
good
going to be
tacos.
cute. And we're going to be also showing them October 20th. At Jump Cut, we're going to have our Halloween short night that we have every year, and they'll play there too on the screen. So
great,
it should be fun.
So that's awesome.
Right. Yeah, thanks so much for listening, and definitely comment on Geek Nation's page on our Facebook. Let us know what you think, and we will see you guys next week.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.